Chapter 3499. Boom! Celestial light was ethereal, and auspicious vapors rose. Ling Xiao sat cross-legged in the void, illuminating the heavens. He looked dignified, and an invincible aura spread out from him. Celestial light fell from his body, and streaks of flying immortal power enveloped Ling Xiao like a heavenly river, constantly tempering his physical body and primordial spirit. His cultivation had already reached the third heaven of the half-immortal emperor realm, but under the influence of 1,000,000 streaks of celestial light, it was still increasing rapidly. One had to know that Ling Xiao's accumulation was extremely strong. Although there were 9 heavens of the half-immortal emperor realm, the difference between each heaven was like heaven and earth. It required countless years of accumulation and vast amounts of immortal Tao origin energy. But now, Ling Xiao's aura was increasing rapidly, and he quickly reached the peak of the third heaven of the half-immortal emperor realm. More importantly, the 1,000,000 streaks of celestial light enveloped this vast world, forming an extremely mysterious scene on the heavenly Tao Emperor star. Everyone was shocked. Especially Sun Lei, whose eyes were filled with disbelief and fear. One had to know that the young alliance master of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance, Yi Junlin, was known as the #1 prodigy in the history of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. He was extremely talented and had unparalleled talent. But even Yi Junlin had only activated 490,000 streaks of celestial light during the opening of the 33 heavenly palaces. But Ling Xiao had activated 1,000,000 streaks of celestial light. How did he do it? Could it be that his talent is even greater than young alliance master Yi Junlin's? How is this possible? Sun Lei's body trembled, and his expression turned extremely ugly. He even felt a trace of fear in his heart. He was sure that Yi Junlin would be able to ascend to the throne soon and become the true alliance master of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. But Ling Xiao was also qualified to compete for the position of alliance master. If Ling Xiao could really defeat Yi Junlin, wouldn't that mean that Ling Xiao also had a chance to become the alliance master of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance? If that was the case, their entire Sun family, from great elder Sun Daoyang to below, would suffer a calamity. Damn it! We can't let him become the leader of the Heavenly Law Business Alliance. Ling Xiao must die. Sun Lei looked at Ling Xiao with a gloomy expression. He gritted his teeth and gave up on the chance to enter the 33rd Heavenly Palace. He turned around and left. He wanted to find Great Elder Sun Daoyang to discuss how to get rid of Ling Xiao. 33. The appearance of the Heavenly Palace and the phenomenon of Ling Xiao triggering immortal light not only shook the Heavenly Tao Imperial Star, but also the 3,000 stars in the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. Countless utmost powerful beings cast their gazes over. This was especially so for the 36 Grand Elders of the Heavenly Law Business Union. Each of them released a powerful wave of divine will and saw Ling Xiao in front of the 33 Heavenly Palace. Great Elder Life Spirit was naturally very excited. As for the other Grand Elders, they all had their own ulterior motives. They were all shocked and doubtful. They had never thought that the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance would have a supreme talent who was even more outstanding than Yi Junlin. When they found out that Ling Xiao was going to compete with Yi Junlin for the position of alliance leader, all sorts of thoughts surfaced in their minds. However, Ling Xiao was unaware of all this. He sat cross-legged in front of the 33 heavenly palaces, and the power of immortal light around him flowed into his body, pushing his cultivation level to a higher level. Not long after, his body released a powerful wave of aura. His cultivation base instantly broke through to the 4th firmament of the half-immortal emperor realm. Rumble. At the same time, the 33 heavenly palace shook violently. It released a vast and mysterious heavenly might. Blazing divine light shone down and enveloped those who had triggered the immortal light in front of the 33 heavenly palace. In the next moment, they instantly shot into the sky and entered the 33 heavenly palace. They entered this supreme treasure and began their trial. Ling Xiao also felt the light in front of him change. The mysterious power of law rose, and he appeared in an unfamiliar space. Is this the 33 heavenly palace? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he softly muttered to himself. In front of him was a barren world. Ancient trees towered into the sky. Mountain ranges stretched endlessly. Ancient vines and precious herbs could be seen everywhere. In the distance, ferocious beasts roared like mountains. With Ling Xiao's current cultivation base, he almost instantly discovered that there was an ancient and mysterious heavenly palace at the center of this world. The heavenly palace seemed to be one whole entity. It exuded a vast heavenly might. It was as if something inside was summoning Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed. He instantly leaped up and moved toward the heavenly palace. He was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he was in front of the heavenly palace. Kid, this heavenly palace isn't something you can covet. Scram! At this moment, an extremely old voice rang out. It was an old man in a black robe. His face was sinister. Black immortal light surged around his body. He exuded a strange and dark aura. One look and one could tell that he was an expert who cultivated the demonic way. His cultivation base had also reached the fifth heaven of the half-immortal emperor realm. He could not tell Ling Xiao's cultivation base. He only thought that Ling Xiao was a lucky kid who happened to arrive in front of the heavenly palace. Therefore, he did not take Ling Xiao seriously. The first person to enter the heavenly palace and pass the trial would receive a special reward. Naturally, he was not willing to let it go. Therefore, when he saw Ling Xiao, he did not hesitate to attack. Boom! His huge palm print was like a black ocean. It surged violently and enveloped Ling Xiao. He was going to kill him directly. You're courting death. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed coldly. He also punched out. Crack! The unparalleled chaotic fist print contained a supreme power that could destroy the heavens. It was extremely powerful. It instantly broke through the ocean and pressed down on the old man in a black robe. What? You're also a half-immortal emperor? The old man in a black robe's expression changed. He did not expect Ling Xiao to also be a half-immortal emperor. Moreover, his strength was extremely terrifying. This punch made him feel a sense of danger. His scalp went numb. Boom! He did not dare to be careless. He quickly formed a seal with both hands. Black divine chains of order sealed the void. They turned into sharp immortal Dao sword radiance and slashed down on Ling Xiao. However, Ling Xiao's fist print contained a supreme power that could destroy the chaos. It was extremely powerful. How could it be blocked so easily? Crack! The sword light shattered one after another. Ling Xiao's punch was so fast that no one could match it. It landed directly on the chest of the black-robed old Taoist. The old man in a black robe trembled violently. He spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes were filled with horror. He was instantly sent flying. Ling Xiao did not even look at him. He walked directly into the heavenly palace. He did not want to waste time. Instead, he wanted to pass through the 33 heavenly palace as soon as possible. He wanted to see if he could obtain some opportunities. Therefore, he did not kill the old man. After all, it would take Ling Xiao a lot of time to kill a fifth heaven quasi-immortal emperor expert. Otherwise, the old man in a black robe would definitely die today. Who is he? The old man in a black robe looked at Ling Xiao's back. His expression was uncertain. He had thought that his cultivation was already at the peak of the strongest. He could defeat everyone. However, he did not expect to be severely injured by Ling Xiao. However, Ling Xiao looked unfamiliar. Even he, who had been in the Heavenly Dao Business League for a long time, could not recognize Ling Xiao. Boom! Not long after, the heavenly palace suddenly emitted a dazzling light. A beam of light pierced through the heavens and earth. It was extremely dazzling and shot up to the 9 heavens. Vaguely, a mysterious figure seemed to break through the void and fly away. He passed the first test of the heavenly palace so quickly. Hiss! I'm afraid Yi Junlin is not that strong. Who is he? The old man in a black robe widened his eyes. His eyes were filled with disbelief and shock. It had only been 10 breaths since Ling Xiao entered the heavenly palace. He was still hesitating whether to enter now. However, he did not expect Ling Xiao to pass the test before he even entered the heavenly palace. This kind of speed was simply world-shocking. Could it be, he's the person who triggered the immortal light? He's Ling Xiao. The old man in a black robe seemed to have thought of something. He was extremely shocked. Chapter 3500. The first level. The second level. The third level. Ling Xiao's speed was extremely fast. Each level of the 33 heavenly palaces was an ancient world. In the center of each world was an ancient heavenly palace, which contained many tests. Not to mention, in each ancient world, there were native creatures, powerful fierce beasts, archean rare species, and ancient formations. It was not easy to pass the first level of the heavenly palace's test. However, for Ling Xiao, it was as easy as eating and drinking. He was like a hot knife through butter. In the blink of an eye, he had reached the 20th level of the heavenly palace. Boom! Ling Xiao was bathed in a dazzling rain of light. Celestial light was faintly discernible, and auspicious qi rose. His aura became more and more unfathomable, and his cultivation level continued to rise. Every time he passed a level of the heavenly palace's test, there would be a baptism of celestial light, which contained vast and mysterious heavenly Tao origin energy. It was extremely beneficial for a quasi-immortal emperor's cultivation level. Crack! Just as Ling Xiao reached the 20th level of the heavenly palace, the baptism of celestial light accumulated in the 20th level of the heavenly palace allowed his cultivation level to break through the bottleneck. Fourth Heaven Quasi-Immortal Emperor. Roar! At the same time, Ling Xiao stood in front of the vast and majestic heavenly palace. In front of him, an archean fierce beast as tall as a mountain appeared. It was bathed in blazing lightning, and its aura was extremely terrifying. A pair of blood-red eyes stared at Ling Xiao. Archean Thunder Emperor. Ling Xiao frowned slightly, and there was a hint of shock in his eyes. The Archean Thunder Emperor was an extremely terrifying thunder-attribute immortal beast. It was said that it was born from the first thunderbolt at the beginning of the world. It was extremely powerful because of the creation of heaven and earth. An adult Archean Thunder Emperor had the cultivation level of a quasi-immortal emperor. If they cultivated to the extreme, it would not be difficult for them to break through to the immortal emperor realm. However, supreme immortal beasts like the Archean Thunder Emperor were extremely rare, and it was extremely difficult for them to produce offspring. Therefore, they had disappeared from the celestial realm a few eras ago. Ling Xiao did not expect to see the imprint of a mature Archean Thunder Emperor here. That's right, it was a mark. The primordial Thunder Emperor's aura was terrifying and boundless, as if it could tear everything apart. With a single thought, it opened up a boundless world of lightning, creating a certain amount of pressure for Ling Xiao. Rumble. At the same time, the imprint of the primordial Thunder Emperor emitted a monstrous murderous aura as it charged toward Ling Xiao. Hundreds of millions of thunderbolts poured down like a heavenly river, completely enveloping the world. Kill! Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a sharp light. He clenched the primordial chaos fist seal and his body emitted a bright celestial light. He also charged toward the primordial lightning emperor. Crack! Rumble! 15 minutes later. Ling Xiao stepped into the heavenly palace and entered the 21st layer of the heavenly palace. Behind him, the ancient Thunder Emperor's figure suddenly exploded, turning into a dazzling rain of light and completely disappearing from the world. The 21st heavenly palace? Hiss, it hasn't even been 2 hours, right? How can his speed be so fast? Outside the 33rd heavenly palace, everyone was stunned. When Ling Xiao entered the 33rd heavenly palace, his aura had been imprinted by the heavenly palace, so everyone could easily sense that the one who had rushed into the 21st heavenly palace was Ling Xiao. After all, the fastest person behind Ling Xiao was only in the 12th heavenly palace. There was a huge gap between them. This young master Ling Xiao is truly terrifying. That's right. I heard that he's a candidate for the alliance leader that Great Elder Life recommended. At first, I thought that he had no chance at all, but now it seems like he's very likely to be a strong competitor for Yi Junlin. Isn't that so? When Yi Junlin entered the 33rd Heavenly Palace, I'm afraid he wasn't as fast as Ling Xiao, right? It seems like the competition between Ling Xiao and Yi Junlin is going to be interesting. I'm afraid it'll be an exciting battle. I'm really looking forward to it. Don't jump to conclusions so quickly. You have to know that Yi Junlin passed. Let's wait until Ling Xiao passes the 33rd Heavenly Palace first. Everyone was talking about it. However, Ling Xiao's name had already been imprinted in everyone's hearts. Damn it. Could it be? Could it be that he's really going to surpass Yi Junlin? Among the crowd, Sun Lei's face was extremely ugly. He was filled with unwillingness, and there was even a trace of deep fear. Although he knew that Ling Xiao was very strong, he felt that there was no comparison between Ling Xiao and Yi Junlin. As long as Yi Junlin became the alliance leader, no matter how strong Ling Xiao was, he would definitely die. However, now that he saw Ling Xiao's unbelievable talent, Sun Lei was no longer sure. In fact, a terrifying possibility appeared in his heart. What if Ling Xiao could become the alliance leader of the Heavenly Dao Business Alliance? He didn't dare to think about it anymore. Ling Xiao was still going through the stages. It was as if nothing could stop him. In the 33rd Heavenly Palace, powerful puppets, imprints of supreme immortal beasts, and powerful formations were all destroyed in front of Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao displayed an indomitable will that defied the heavens, sweeping through everything. In the blink of an eye, Ling Xiao had broken through several realms. The 31st heaven. Seeing that Ling Xiao was already standing on the 31st level of heaven, everyone was silent. Their eyes were filled with deep respect and anticipation. Sun Lei's expression was getting uglier and uglier. The 31st heaven is the most difficult heavenly palace to illuminate the heavens. It's impossible for him to pass it. Sun Lei gritted his teeth. He had passed the 33rd Heavenly Palace, so he knew better than anyone else. In the 33rd Heavenly Palace, the most difficult heavenly palace was the 31st heaven, which was the heavenly illuminating heavens. Countless geniuses and utmost powerful beings had all been defeated here. Back then, although Yi Junlin had passed it, he had paid a huge price. Therefore, everyone was holding their breaths. They were excited and nervous, not knowing if Ling Xiao could pass the 31st Heavenly Palace. Boom! At this moment, several figures with terrifying auras came across the sky. They were all quasi-immortal emperors. There were men and women. The two elders in the lead, one in a black robe, and the other in a white robe. Their auras were vast and unfathomable. However, they were completely different and seemed to be opposing each other. However, both of them were looking at the 33rd Heavenly Palace. They were Sun Daoyang and Grand Elder Life. Ling Xiao had rushed into the 31st Heavenly Palace in a very short time. The test of the heavenly illuminating heavens was about to begin. Both of them were shocked. Chapter 3501. 31st Heaven. Standing in front of the magnificent and eternal heavenly palace, Ling Xiao's eyes shone brightly and were filled with powerful battle intent. The last 3 heavenly palace levels. The test must be even more difficult. I wonder what the test will be this time. Ling Xiao murmured to himself. Buzz. At this moment, a figure appeared in front of him. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with divine light. The figure was surrounded by chaotic aura. Divine light of the great path shone brightly. His aura was as vast as the sea and extremely terrifying. However, his appearance was exactly the same as Ling Xiao's. This isn't the real me. This is the manifestation of the precepts in the 33rd Heavenly Palace. Could this be my reflection? Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat as he suddenly guessed something. He did not expect the 33rd heavenly palace to be so magical that even his reflection had appeared. Moreover, this reflection's aura was extremely terrifying. He was also a fourth heaven quasi-immortal emperor and brought great pressure to Ling Xiao. Boom! The figure in front of him threw a punch at him. The unparalleled fist print pressed down like a chaotic divine mountain. Blazing celestial light rose. The dragon's might on the arm was vast. The real dragon's celestial meridian had been completely activated. The physical strength had been raised to the extreme. It was indeed Ling Xiao's reflection. Boom! Ling Xiao also threw a punch. His powerful physical strength was completely unleashed. The terrifying power of his aura seemed to be able to shatter the stars in the sky. There was a muffled sound in the void. Boundless chaotic light exploded, and a divine light storm swept out in all directions. Ling Xiao and the reflection in front of him both retreated at the same time. This punch was actually a draw. Kill! Ling Xiao's eyes were incomparably sharp, and his battle intent soared as he suddenly roared. It was like a chaotic thunderbolt had exploded. He walked like a dragon and a tiger, stepping on the endless starry sky. It was as if he was pushing the sun, moon, and stars as he walked. His aura was overbearing. Ling Xiao could vaguely feel that the test of the 31st Heavenly Palace should be a test of the ultimate physical strength. Like Ling Xiao, the reflected body in front of him possessed an extremely sublime physical strength. That represented the physical limits of living beings below the immortal emperor realm. Only by breaking this limit could he pass the test and pass the 31st Heavenly Palace. Furthermore, Ling Xiao discovered that his power of laws and primordial spirit had been sealed in the 31st Heavenly Palace. He could only rely on the power of his physical body to fight the enemy. Boom! 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 The fierce battle between Ling Xiao and the reflection body erupted with the most terrifying physical strength. Unparalleled fist prints seemed to be able to shatter the starry sky and tear the earth apart. They all had the same supreme physique, and they also had the same killing methods. They were incomparably terrifying. The true dragon pierced through billions of miles of the starry sky. The heaven-devouring python devoured countless worlds. They constantly descended, erupting with supreme might that could suppress everything. This battle was extremely intense. Ling Xiao continuously battled with his reflection, then looked for his own weaknesses and shortcomings, and rapidly improved. His physical body had already broken through the limits. His physical body's strength was unparalleled throughout the ages. Even a boundary immortal emperor of the same realm could be killed by his punch. Although the reflected body in front of him looked the same as him, it was actually slightly weaker. Rumble. In the end, after an extremely intense battle, the reflected body in front of him was completely obliterated by Ling Xiao's punch. In the 31st Heavenly Palace, a bright and ethereal rain of light sprinkled down and merged into Ling Xiao's body, constantly healing his injuries. Ling Xiao took a step forward and quickly disappeared from the 31st Heavenly Palace. He appeared in a mysterious and ancient world. The 32nd Heavenly Palace. I'd like to see what kind of fortune I'll get after I pass the 33 Heavenly Palaces. Ling Xiao muttered to himself softly. His eyes were sharp and bright, filled with anticipation. Swoosh! He leaped up and flew toward the Heavenly Palace at the center. As for the surrounding exotic flowers, herbs, sacred herbs, and even primordial rare species, he did not even look at them. He went straight to the Heavenly Palace. Rumble. In the 32nd Heavenly Palace, chaotic light rose and the world changed. As if the world was being created, Ling Xiao appeared in a world that had just been created. His surroundings were filled with pure power of laws. Yin and Yang were changing, the 5 elements were flowing, space-time was splitting, and karma, reincarnation, and so on were all evolving. His physical body and primordial spirit power had been sealed. Only the dharmic powers in his body were still there, and his understanding of the laws of heaven and earth was still there. Is this a test of the power of laws? Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. Crack. The chaotic void in front of him shook violently. Blazing divine light spewed out, and a figure with a towering aura stepped out. It was a young man in a robe whiter than snow. His body was untainted by dust, and he looked ethereal. He was like another Ling Xiao. As expected, it was still Ling Xiao's reflected body. However, Ling Xiao felt a strong sense of danger from the reflected body in front of him. Rumble. The reflected body charged toward Ling Xiao. Blazing flames rose from his palm. As his palm moved across the sky, 9 dazzling suns instantly appeared. 9 suns across the sky, burning the heavens and destroying the earth. Slash. Ling Xiao's gaze was extremely sharp. Ethereal divine light bloomed around him, and a dazzling sword light suddenly bloomed from his body. It was extremely sharp. Ling Xiao knew that the reflected body in front of him was extremely terrifying. Perhaps it represented the extreme state of the power of laws. Ling Xiao's various divine powers and treasured skills had all been cultivated to the perfect state. It would be extremely difficult for Ling Xiao to defeat him. Crack. The sharp sword light was ethereal and mysterious, but it contained a terrifying power that could destroy thousands of Daos and shatter the heavens. In an instant, the 9 suns were destroyed, and they fell toward the reflected body. Whoosh! However, a stream of light flashed under the feet of the reflected body. With a casual wave of his hand, he separated the space as if he was so close yet so far away. Then, a similarly sharp sword light rose from his body. He instantly performed a supreme sword technique, and an even sharper and more dazzling sword light bloomed. Boom! The 2 sword lights collided in the void, and Ling Xiao's sword light was instantly shattered. The reflected body flew across the sky, and his gaze was indifferent. The sharp sword light made Ling Xiao feel a great threat. Boom! The mysterious rune in his palm glowed, intertwining with the power of laws. He had no choice but to use the eternal immortal execution tribulation light. In an instant, it rose into the sky and annihilated the sword light. Rumble. Ling Xiao and the reflected body were extremely fast. In an instant, they had exchanged hundreds of blows. They were like 2 dazzling balls of light, constantly colliding in this newly born world. Every collision would cause the surrounding heavens and earth to tremble violently. The mountains and rivers that had just formed began to crumble in large patches. This battle was too difficult. When he truly fought with the reflected body in front of him, he realized his countless flaws and shortcomings. Those divine powers and secret skills were the manifestation of the laws of heaven and earth, and they contained endless mysterious changes. The reflected body represented the perfection of the power of laws, and it also represented the state that Ling Xiao could reach at this moment. His strength was extremely terrifying. Boom! Ling Xiao was hit by a palm print. Blazing flames rose, causing his body to tremble violently. Half of his body was about to explode. The dazzling sword light slashed down. Even though Ling Xiao's foundation was perfect and flawless, and his physical body was unparalleled, that sword light almost cut off half of his cultivation base. Ling Xiao was bathed in blood, and he staggered back. His entire body had suffered unimaginable injuries. He was almost completely suppressed, and he had no strength to resist at all. The divine powers and secret skills that he had unleashed, in the eyes of the reflected body, had many loopholes, and were constantly destroyed. If I can't even defeat my own reflected body, how can I conquer the immortal realm and become a supreme immortal emperor? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with a trace of madness. Boom! Boundless life force gushed out from his body, constantly healing his wounds. Although he couldn't use the power of his physical body, his supreme immortal body could make thousands of Daos resonate and imprint the great Tao laws of the heavens. His vitality was extremely strong. Ling Xiao healed his injuries while observing the attacks of the reflected body. He then found the deficiencies and loopholes in the power of laws that the reflected body cultivated. Gradually, his various divine powers and secret skills were constantly transforming and improving. In this kind of life-and-death battle, Ling Xiao's potential seemed to be stimulated to the extreme. He didn't know how long he had been fighting for. In the end, his body dimmed, and his vitality was almost exhausted. However, his eyes were unprecedentedly bright, and his fighting spirit had risen to the extreme. Facing the attack of the reflected body again, he slapped the sky. The unparalleled palm print, surrounded by endless chaotic light, pressed down mightily. The thousands of Daos in the heavens and the earth seemed to be completely crushed at this moment, and the heavens and the earth were about to be completely shattered and return to chaos. Boom! The reflected body in front of him was killed by Ling Xiao's palm. Although the body reflection represents the extreme perfection of the power of law. However, I can break through the extreme realm and advance to the extreme. Ling Xiao whispered to himself. Bathed in the dazzling rain of light, his clothes fluttered, and he disappeared from the 32nd heavenly palace. Then, his figure appeared in the 33rd heavenly palace. He actually killed 2 reflected bodies so quickly and entered the 33rd heavenly palace. Outside the 33rd heavenly palace, even the experienced Sun Daoyang couldn't help but change his expression at this moment. His eyes were filled with incomparable shock. The last 3 heavenly palace levels were extremely difficult because all the tests came from oneself. The 33rd heavenly palace would produce 3 reflected bodies, the physical body, the laws, and the primordial spirit. Only by killing these 3 reflected bodies would one be considered to have passed the level completely. They didn't expect Ling Xiao to kill 2 reflected bodies in the physical body and laws so quickly. Now, he had already stepped into the 33rd heavenly palace. It seemed that there was no doubt that Ling Xiao would pass the level. Ha ha ha. Good, good, good. I really didn't misjudge him. Sun Daoyang, do you still think that Ling Xiao doesn't have the right to be the leader now? Great Elder Life Spirit's face was flushed red, and his eyes were filled with incomparable excitement. He glanced at Sun Daoyang. Sun Daoyang snorted coldly, his expression extremely ugly. If he wants to be the leader, he'll have to defeat Yi Junlin first. Sun Daoyang said coldly. However, even he had to admit that Ling Xiao was indeed qualified to be a threat to Yi Junlin. At this moment, the eyes of the surrounding elders changed, and different thoughts appeared in their minds. Although they all supported Yi Junlin and were considered to be on the same side as Sun Daoyang, if Ling Xiao really became the leader, they wouldn't have a good ending. Seeing Ling Xiao's heaven-defying combat strength and talent, they became vigilant and felt a sense of danger. They also had other thoughts. It seemed like it was time for them to make plans for themselves. On the other hand, the crowd became more and more excited. They were all people who didn't mind watching a show. They originally thought that Yi Junlin becoming the leader was a foregone conclusion, but they didn't expect Ling Xiao to appear halfway. Now, it seemed like there were more and more interesting things to watch. They couldn't wait for Ling Xiao and Yi Junlin to fight. The 33rd Heaven. The Ancient Heavenly Palace. This was an ancient palace that stood under the vast starry sky, surrounded by endless divine light and exuding an eternal aura. The 33rd Heavenly Palace was more majestic and magnificent than the previous 32 heavenly palaces. The indescribable dominance and majesty made people vaguely feel as if there really was a supreme heavenly emperor presiding over billions of lives and suppressing the universe. Ling Xiao came to the heavenly palace. The body of reflection appeared before his eyes. He wore a true dragon emperor's robe, a flat crown, and cloud-stepping boots. Although he looked exactly the same as Ling Xiao, his aura was completely different. It was as if the ancient heavenly emperor in the ancient heavenly court had awakened. The majestic and domineering aura made people want to worship him. It was as if they would prostrate themselves on the ground in the next moment. Kill! Ling Xiao's eyes were brimming with fighting spirit as he suddenly roared and charged towards the reflection's body. The space between his eyebrows blossomed with resplendent radiance. It was as if a small golden figure flew out from within, carrying a broken sword. Its baleful aura overflowed into the heavens. The power of his physical body and the power of laws had been sealed. In the 33rd level of heaven, the body of reflection corresponded to the extreme perfection of the power of primordial spirit. It was another extremely intense and difficult battle. After an unknown period of time, this part of the starry sky was destroyed. Countless bright stars exploded, and the starry sky became dark and desolate. Only Ling Xiao looked exhausted and extremely weak. He stood under the starry sky, and a bright rain of light bloomed around him, repairing the injuries of his primordial spirit. He had won. Rumble. However, at this moment, a bright and ancient path of immortality appeared in the vast starry sky. It was shrouded in endless chaotic light, and it was mysterious and unfathomable. A mysterious palace seemed to appear on it, and it emitted an aura fluctuation that made Ling Xiao tremble. It was as if some kind of existence was summoning Ling Xiao. What is that? Ling Xiao was shocked. However, with a single thought, he leaped into the air and flew toward the ancient path of immortality. Chapter 3502. The ancient path of immortality stretched across the starry sky. Desolation and decay. It was like a place that had been buried by time and forgotten by all living beings. No one knew about it. Ling Xiao was surrounded by dazzling immortal light. His qi and blood surged into the clouds. A strange connection seemed to have formed between him and the path of immortality, guiding him toward the peak of the path of immortality. What's that? Ling Xiao's body shook. A trace of astonishment appeared in his eyes. The scene before him changed drastically. The winding path of immortality seemed to have passed through layers of time and space and gone through countless eras. However, 3 dilapidated heavenly palaces suddenly appeared before Ling Xiao's eyes. The 3 heavenly palaces were located in endless Xianhuang Qi. An ancient starry sky surrounded them. Their auras were majestic and ancient, exuding an eternal and immortal aura. However, the 3 heavenly palaces were covered in spiderweb-like cracks. They looked like they would collapse at any moment. However, Ling Xiao could sense that the auras of the 3 heavenly palaces and the 33 heavenly palaces came from the same source. Could it be that it's not the 33 heavenly palace but the 36 heavenly palace? But why didn't they discover the 3 heavenly palaces? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed sharply as if he had thought of an extremely terrifying possibility. He vaguely sensed that the 3 dilapidated heavenly palaces had appeared because they sensed his aura. In the blink of an eye, Ling Xiao arrived before the 3 heavenly palaces. Yu Heavenly Palace. Qingwei Heavenly Palace. Daluo Heavenly Palace. Ling Xiao could vaguely recognize the names of the 3 heavenly palaces. However, he noticed that the plaques above the 3 heavenly palaces had been cut down by an extremely terrifying sword qi. The sword intent sent chills down Ling Xiao's spine. This is definitely not the power of a quasi-immortal emperor. This is the power of a true immortal emperor. Could it be that a long time ago, a battle between immortal emperors took place here? Ling Xiao murmured softly. He seemed to have discovered an incredible secret. Ling Xiao stepped forward and walked into Yu Heavenly Palace. The Heavenly Palace was shrouded in mist and dense immortal light. Vaguely, a handsome young man with long black hair and an ancient sword on his back walked out. His gaze was sharp as if endless sword light instantly gathered around him. The terrifying sword intent radiating from his body seemed to be able to tear space and time. His gaze instantly fell on Ling Xiao, and an overbearing supreme sword essence locked onto Ling Xiao in an instant. Ling Xiao's entire body trembled as an extremely grave expression appeared in his eyes. This was a true immortal emperor. If this wasn't the case, it was basically impossible for him to give off such a terrifying pressure. In fact, he even felt the threat of death. Boom! In an instant, the black-haired youth drew the ancient sword on his back. An extremely resplendent sword light seemed to have come from the distant heavens, completely enveloping Ling Xiao in front of him. The blood in Ling Xiao's body seemed to be boiling. He could feel that the sword light seemed to split into 3 in an instant. One pierced towards him from the past, one slashed down from the future, and the last one enveloped the present time. He let out a furious roar while emitting a blinding immortal glow. The power of his flesh, primordial spirit, and the laws of his body were raised to the limit. It surged forward as if he had broken through the extreme realm of eternity. Rumble. This was a collision that had never been seen before and would never be seen again. It was a collision that shattered everything, and it was as if the entire universe had been destroyed countless times in the blink of an eye. Even though it only lasted for a brief moment, Ling Xiao felt like he and the black-haired young man had been fighting since the ancient times. The despairing domain of time seemed to be able to destroy everything. In the end, Ling Xiao finally broke free from the domain of time. He staggered with a pale face. There was a strange sword wound on his body, but his eyes were extremely bright and brilliant. Buzz! The black-haired young man had disappeared without Ling Xiao noticing. He had turned into a strange seed emitting a three-colored light floating in front of him. Such a terrifying sword. If it wasn't for the fact that I only had the strength for a single blow, I might have died here today. Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with a stern look, but they were also filled with joy after a great battle. How could he not see that the black-haired young man was just an imprint left behind by a supreme expert? Although the supreme expert possessed the combat strength of an immortal emperor and was extremely terrifying, he had almost killed Ling Xiao with a single slash of his sword. Is this some kind of test? Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. At this moment, the three-colored seed buzzed and trembled. In an instant, it flew across the sky and entered Ling Xiao's body, disappearing without a trace. At this moment, after the tricolored seed disappeared, the entire heavenly palace became extremely ordinary, as if all its essence had been completely exhausted. Then, it buzzed and trembled, and finally, it collapsed in front of Ling Xiao. Yu Yu's heavenly palace had completely disappeared. I'd like to see what kind of test there is in the two heavenly palaces ahead. Ling Xiao's eyes shone with a sharp light. His footsteps became more determined as he walked forward. Qing Wei Heavenly Palace. When Ling Xiao stepped into the Qing Wei Heavenly Palace, starlight and fog surrounded him. A middle-aged man in a Taoist robe appeared in front of Ling Xiao. His aura was as majestic as the clouds, and he was extremely proud. He waved his sleeves. Suddenly, the entire Qing Wei Heavenly Palace was filled with intertwining runes, formations, and runes. An unprecedented supreme formation appeared in front of Ling Xiao and silently engulfed Ling Xiao. Is the test in the Qing Wei Heavenly Palace a formation? Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. Rumble. The arrogant middle-aged man did not even look at Ling Xiao. He stretched out his hand and pressed against the void. In an instant, countless runes of the formation shone with a dazzling light. The unprecedented supreme formation exuded a monstrous killing intent and was completely activated in an instant. Ling Xiao, who was in the middle of the formation, also felt the terrifying danger that was exuding from all directions. Without any hesitation, he exuded a strong fighting spirit and unleashed all his divine powers to attack. Rumble. Kacha. The sky trembled and the void shook. The space and time in the heavens were destroyed. Ling Xiao fought crazily. In the end, it was as if he had completely shattered the heavens and earth and created a new one. The power of the array seemed to have been completely exhausted as it slowly dissipated. The arrogant middle-aged man also turned into a seed that emitted a tricolored light and appeared in front of Ling Xiao. This seed is the power of the formation. Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. The tricolored seed emitted a mysterious light as if it was surrounded by layers of the power of the formation. At this moment, it flickered with a flickering light. In an instant, it flew across the sky and merged into Ling Xiao's body. Ling Xiao stepped forward and walked towards the final Daluo Heavenly Palace. Behind him, the sky trembled violently. The spiderweb-like cracks finally collapsed and were completely destroyed. Chapter 3503. Daluo Heavenly Palace. The Heavenly Palace was ancient and majestic, but it was even more dilapidated than the Yu Heavenly Palace and Qing Wei Heavenly Palace. Ling Xiao stepped into the Daluo Heavenly Palace, and the scene before him shocked him. Rumble. Endless chaotic light was ethereal, and its aura was mysterious. An ancient tree that pierced through heaven and earth and suppressed the endless chaos sat in the chaotic heavenly palace. However, the crown of the ancient tree seemed to have been cut off by a terrifying sword chi, and it was filled with the sword essence of great destruction and great destruction. Only a bare trunk was left. This is the origin world tree. Ling Xiao trembled, and his eyes were filled with disbelief. The aura of the trunk before him was of the same origin as the world tree in his body, but it was more terrifying and mysterious. Buzz! At this moment, Ling Xiao had no time to think. The light in front of him changed, and runes rose, and an old Taoist with a youthful face and white hair appeared. The old Taoist held a fire and water horsetail whisk, and his eyes were extremely deep, as if they could see through billions of years in an instant and shatter the epochs. His aura was extremely terrifying. The old Taoist waved the horsetail whisk, and blazing flames rose around Ling Xiao. Chaotic colors filled the air, and an 8 trigrams elixir furnace appeared. The 8 trigrams elixir furnace looked extremely mysterious, and strange runes intertwined to form a strange domain that trapped Ling Xiao within. This is the power of Elixir Dao. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed sharply. As the old Taoist reached out and pressed the void, Ling Xiao fell into the 8 trigrams elixir furnace involuntarily. The surrounding flames burned fiercely, and chaotic light filled the air as if it wanted to completely refine Ling Xiao within the 8 trigrams elixir furnace. At the same time, an extremely mysterious formation power trapped Ling Xiao within. Whoosh! 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 Within the 8 trigrams cauldron, strange pills rose up like streams of light. They turned into blazing suns and surged toward Ling Xiao in an instant. Kill! Ling Xiao roared. He did not have time to think, and he immediately charged forward. The last 3 ruined heavenly palace contained the seals of 3 supreme experts, and each of them was stronger than the last. Their auras were boundless and terrifying as if they could destroy everything. The last Taoist, in particular, seemed to cultivate Elixir Dao, but he was all-encompassing, like the vast chaotic void that could devour everything. Ling Xiao was inside the 8 trigrams cauldron. He kept fending off the raging primal chaos immortal flames around him, shattering the blazing suns one after another. The power of an immortal emperor was extremely terrifying. Even though Ling Xiao's cultivation was strong and he had many methods, even though he had cultivated a supreme immortal emperor art, he still narrowly escaped death and suffered unimaginable injuries. Boom! In the end, Ling Xiao broke elixir furnace, and escaped. His face had also become incomparably pale, and there was a trace of golden blood at the corner of his mouth. He looked somewhat miserable. However, his eyes were unprecedentedly bright. Buzz! The Taoist in front of him disappeared too. He turned into a seed emitting a 3-colored glow like a golden elixir. It soared across the sky and entered Ling Xiao's body. Rumble! Flames burst out of Ling Xiao's body as if they were burning fiercely. The 3 seeds buzzed and flew out at the same time. They intertwined with one another and merged into a 9-colored seed. At the same time, another strange seed flew out from Ling Xiao's sea of consciousness and fused with the 9-colored seed in an instant. Bang! The world shook vigorously. The universe shook. 10-colored light shook the world and destroyed everything. A strong life force burst out. An incomprehensible change appeared before Ling Xiao's eyes. A strange, 10-colored seed appeared. It was as dazzling as the sun. Crap! Ling Xiao was startled. The last seed that flew out was the Dao spirit of the Supreme Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. He did not expect the Dao spirit of the Supreme Mountain to merge with the eerie 9-colored seed. It was too late when he tried to stop it. Don't worry. I was right. The Supreme Emperor of Kunwu Mountain is the reincarnation of the primordial chaos immortal emperor. This is probably the primordial chaos ancient celestial court. That ancient tree is the origin world tree. At this moment, an extremely surprised voice rang out in Ling Xiao's mind. It was the bizarre ancestor. Ling Xiao spared the bizarre ancestor's life because he promised to help Ling Xiao find the origin world tree. However, he had almost forgotten about him. He did not expect the bizarre ancestor to speak at this moment. "What did you say?" Ling Xiao's body trembled. His eyes were extremely solemn. Rumble. Before the bizarre ancestor could speak, the 10-colored seed exuded a vast and mysterious life force. It was intertwined with chaotic mist. A domineering, majestic, and mysterious figure seemed to emerge. The 10-colored seed emitted a strange light. It turned into a stream of light and flew toward the origin world tree. Rumble. Crack. Endless lightning rose. It was as if heaven and earth were being split open. The 10-colored seed merged with the origin world tree. It seemed to give the origin world tree new life. Vast and mysterious origin power surged over. There was no need for Ling Xiao to absorb it. It simply fused into Ling Xiao's body. Furthermore, it was passively pushing Ling Xiao's cultivation base to skyrocket. Looks like I was right. This is the primordial chaos ancient celestial court. Lord Ling Xiao, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Quickly summon your origin world tree. With the powerful origin energy of the origin world tree, your origin world tree can grow rapidly. The patriarch of the strange tribe was extremely excited as he said hurriedly. Ling Xiao's heart stirred. Light flashed between his eyebrows and the origin world tree emerged. Rumble. The vast origin energy in the surroundings seemed to have sensed Ling Xiao's origin world tree. It surged wildly and poured into the origin world tree. The origin world tree continued to sprout. It exuded a vast life force. Endless chaotic light lingered around it. It was as if heaven and earth were being split open. In the vast chaos, it began to grow rapidly. Buzz. The 10-colored seed and half of the origin world tree surged like a stream of light and merged with Ling Xiao's origin world tree. The vast chaotic energy and the powerful origin energy of the heavenly way surged and merged with Ling Xiao's body. His cultivation continued to skyrocket. Rumble. Ling Xiao sat cross-legged under the origin world tree. The aura around him was terrifying. The immortal light was ethereal and mysterious. He had entered the deepest level of Tao comprehension. Chapter 3504. Crack. A crisp crack came from Ling Xiao's body. His cultivation had broken through the bottleneck of the 4th layer half-immortal emperor realm and reached the 5th layer half-immortal emperor realm within an instant. On top of it, his cultivation was still skyrocketing. Meanwhile, his tree of world was surging fiercely with a chaotic mist around it. It was supporting the heavens and earth as it kept devouring the origin force in the tree trunk. It began to grow rapidly. Even though Ling Xiao's cultivation had skyrocketed, the fortunate encounters he had obtained were only a small portion. The tree of world had devoured and absorbed most of them. It was the tree of world's fortunate encounter, a complete transformation. It felt like the old and the new were replacing the old. The energy stored in the tree trunk existed for the tree of world. Rumble. Chaos surged fiercely as the heavens and earth split apart. Layers of time and space evolved. All kinds of mystical immortal glows and strange living beings appeared. An incomparably grand scene appeared around Ling Xiao's body, as if it had been frozen for eternity in that instant. Buzz. The 10-colored seed was glowing brilliantly with an ethereal immortal glow. It was like a sun emitting a tremendous life force. Vaguely, Ling Xiao seemed to see a strange silhouette among them. Bang! Godly light and immortal mist were surging inside Ling Xiao's body. A young man with disheveled black hair, a proud middle-aged man, and a wise old man appeared at the same time and merged with the 10-colored seed. The 10-colored seed was dazzling to the extreme. Crack! Endless lightning rose as if it was splitting the heavens and earth apart. A peculiar figure stepped out of the dazzling sun. Rumble. He pushed the sun, moon, and stars as he moved. The blazing immortal glow around him seemed to be surrounded by 3,000 boundless worlds. His aura was unfathomable, as if he was undefeatable and dominating the heavens. His eyes were sharp and brilliant, as if they could destroy the heavens and earth in an instant, or penetrate the boundary between life and death. A single thought could split the heavens and earth into countless living beings. Even countless true immortals had no choice but to kneel before him. He seemed to be the origin of chaos, the master of the heavenly Tao, the ancestor of the heavens, the origin of all living beings, and the end of the destruction of the heavens and earth. He represented primal chaos, represented limitless, represented everything. Who was the first to wake up from the dream? Only I know. A dream lasts for 3,000 years, and 1 year is an era. An ancient and weathered voice resounded between heaven and earth, as if it could shatter everything. It was also like a great bell that contained endless mysteries. That figure stepped out. His eyes were filled with vicissitudes and landed on Ling Xiao's body. It was as if millions of immortal chaotic divine mountains were supporting him, causing Ling Xiao's body to tremble. Crack! Crisp sounds rang out from within Ling Xiao's body. The surging origin energy of the heavenly ways in the surroundings constantly surged into his body, causing his cultivation to skyrocket. Fifth Heaven Quasi-Immortal Emperor. Sixth Heaven Quasi-Immortal Emperor. In the blink of an eye, Ling Xiao's cultivation had reached the peak of the seventh heaven half-immortal emperor realm. There were 9 heavens quasi-immortal emperors, and the difference between each heaven was huge. If a quasi-immortal emperor wanted to break through to the next heaven, it would take him an era to do so. It would require a huge amount of accumulation and foundation. Although the origin energy of the heavenly ways in the world tree was vast and boundless, it was already the limit for Ling Xiao to reach the 5th heaven quasi-immortal emperor realm. However, he did not expect that as soon as the mysterious figure appeared, his cultivation would break through to the peak of the 7th heaven quasi-immortal emperor realm with just a few words. What kind of great power was that? He was definitely a true immortal emperor expert. Ling Xiao raised his head. The figure was surrounded by immortal mist, and his true appearance gradually appeared. Ling Xiao was instantly stunned. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain? Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with disbelief. He did not expect that the figure that walked out of the 10-colored seed was actually the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. Ling Xiao, long time no see. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain smiled faintly, and there was a trace of gentleness in his eyes. His voice was extremely clear, but Ling Xiao instantly understood that the figure in front of him was actually the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. Should I call you the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain or the Primal Chaos Ancient Immortal Emperor? Ling Xiao said with a bitter smile. How could he not understand at this moment? Who else but the Primal Chaos Ancient Immortal Emperor could merge with the 3 strange seeds and return with the vast power of the World Tree? After all, this was suspected to be the Primal Chaos Ancient Heavenly Court. The World Tree was also the Primal Chaos Ancient Immortal Emperor's natal item. Both are right and wrong. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain smiled faintly, and then said slowly, "You should call me Master. This is what you want as well, isn't it?" Ling Xiao's heart trembled when he heard the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain's words. That's right. Ling Xiao greets Master. Ling Xiao's eyes were slightly red, but there was a smile on his face as he bowed deeply to the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain. Countless years had passed since they parted ways in the Urwilds. If not for the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain's sacrifice, Ling Xiao would have died long ago. Everything the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain had done for the Urwilds and for Ling Xiao was deeply engraved in his heart, and he was filled with gratitude. He had long since regarded the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain as his master. Therefore, he had gone through untold hardships to cross the Sea of Chaos and come to the eternal immortal domains, where he had sought out the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain's divine mountain Tao spirit in hopes of reviving him. Therefore, it didn't matter who the Emperor of Kunwu Mountain was, or whether or not he was the Primal Chaos Ancient Immortal Emperor, it didn't matter to Ling Xiao. Good boy, quickly rise. The Emperor of Kunwu Mountain accepted Ling Xiao's bow, his eyes full of smiles. Then he waved his sleeve, and Ling Xiao unconsciously rose to his feet. I am the Primal Chaos Ancient Immortal Emperor. My true spirit was lost in the sea of chaos and became the Kunwu mountain of the Your Wilds. That is why I have a different set of memories. If you hadn't brought me here, I wouldn't have been able to awaken the memories of my past life. However, whether you're the primal chaos ancient immortal emperor or the emperor of Kunwu Mountain, since you've acknowledged me as your master, your destiny as my master has never ceased. The emperor of Kunwu Mountain spoke slowly. As he spoke, Ling Xiao began to understand his true origins. In truth, Ling Xiao had already guessed this back in the ancient battlefield of Heavenly Tao. Immortal emperors were immortal and indestructible. Even if they perished, as long as their true spirit returned, they could be reborn countless years later. The primal chaos ancient immortal emperor was the strongest expert to have existed in the eternal immortal domains for countless epochs. He had left behind countless legends. Ling Xiao had never imagined that he was the emperor of Kunwu Mountain. Then he recalled the emperor of Kunwu Mountain's words. 3,000 years in a dream, 1 year an epoch. Had the primal chaos ancient immortal emperor been asleep for 3,000 epochs? Chapter 3505. The emperor of Kunwu Mountain had awoken the wisdom of his past life and been reborn. Although he was only a true spirit and had yet to form a physical body, he was still an immortal emperor. With the power of an immortal emperor, it wouldn't be long before he returned to his peak. You want to know how I died, don't you, Ling Xiao? The emperor of Kunwu Mountain said slowly. Does it have something to do with the creatures of darkness? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed with light. That's right. The emperor of Kunwu Mountain took a deep breath and nodded. The creatures of darkness live in a place called the ancient darkness world. It's on the opposite side of the eternal immortal domains. However, for countless years, the creatures of darkness have been trying to turn the eternal immortal domains into a part of the darkness. Most of the eternal realms born in the Chaos Sea have been invaded by the ancient darkness world. As a result, the creatures of darkness have grown stronger and stronger. Given the current strength of the eternal immortal domains, it's extremely difficult to resist the ancient darkness world. I have a premonition that the invasion of the creatures of darkness is not far away. The Kunwu Mountain Emperor had a worried look in his eyes. The ancient darkness world? Are they going to invade the eternal immortal domains? Ling Xiao's expression was grave. After encountering the creatures of darkness in the ancient battlefield of Heavenly Tao, including the Dark Crown Prince, he knew that they were extremely difficult to deal with. The creatures of darkness were so powerful that they could erode the living beings of the eternal immortal domains. Furthermore, they would only grow stronger and stronger. Based on what little he knew, the immortal emperors of the creatures of darkness were extremely terrifying. As for the immortal emperors in the eternal immortal domains, it was impossible to find out who was still alive. If the creatures of darkness invaded, how could the eternal immortal domains resist them? Therefore, you must prepare yourself. Do your best to raise your cultivation base and break through to the immortal emperor realm as soon as possible. Furthermore, your opportunity to break through is not in the eternal immortal domains, but in the Your Wilds. Therefore, when you reach the 9th level of the quasi-immortal emperor realm, you can return to the Your Wilds. The emperor of Kunwu Mountain's eyes were deep and mysterious as he looked behind Ling Xiao. My opportunity to break through to the immortal emperor realm is in the Your Wilds? Could it be, because of the ancient essence tree? A gleam of light flashed through Ling Xiao's eyes as he looked at the profound origin ancient tree in the distance. That's right. The emperor of Kunwu Mountain nodded approvingly and said, You have refined this origin ancient tree. Your foundation is in the untainted world. When your cultivation reaches the peak of the 9th heaven of the quasi-immortal emperor realm, you will naturally know. I've already returned. I'm afraid that some of the old fellows in the ancient darkness world have also sensed my return. 2. This 36 Heavens Supreme Pagoda is a treasure that I refined back then. You can subdue it and use it to subdue the entire Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. The Kunwu Mountain Sovereign Emperor looked into the void. It was as if he could see through the endless chaos and see a place that was invaded by endless darkness. 2. He did not expect the Heavenly Law Business Alliance to be an immortal force that had obtained the inheritance of the ancient Heavenly Court. The 33rd Heavenly Palace was a supreme immortal emperor weapon. The 36th Heavenly Palace. You take care. I'm leaving. The Kunlun Mountain Emperor smiled and waved his hand at Ling Xiao. In an instant, he turned into a bright stream of light and disappeared into the endless chaotic void. Why hasn't Ling Xiao come out yet? A hint of worry appeared in Great Elder Life's eyes. Ling Xiao had passed through the 33rd Heavenly Palace and received the baptism of immortal light. The entire 33rd Heavenly Palace lit up the 9 heavens and shook the entire Heavenly Law Emperor star. He was very excited. However, after Ling Xiao passed through the 33rd Heavenly Palace, he disappeared. It was to the extent that even the Grand Elders of the Heavenly Dao Business Alliance were unable to discover Ling Xiao's whereabouts. Ling Xiao might have touched some taboo and died in the 33rd Heavenly Palace. You should know the origin of the 33rd Heavenly Palace, right? Sun Daoyang said indifferently. Ling Xiao had been very worried when he passed through the 33rd Heavenly Palace. Now, he could finally breathe a sigh of relief. He could not wait for Ling Xiao to die in there. The 33rd Heavenly Palace? Great Elder Life Spirit's heart sank. He only knew that the 33rd Heavenly Palace was related to the greatest secret of the Heavenly Law Business Alliance. It was rumored that it was a supreme immortal emperor weapon, but no one could use it. Furthermore, it was extremely dangerous. Even a peak 9th heaven half-immortal emperor realm expert could die if they were not careful. If Ling Xiao had touched some taboo, he might have died in there. Ling Xiao has died. Seems like it's possible. After all, he has not appeared for so long. The 33rd Heavenly Palace is mysterious and unfathomable. It is related to the origin of the Heavenly Law Business Alliance. It is rumored that a peak 9th heaven quasi-immortal emperor has died in there before. This Ling Xiao is so arrogant. He wants to be young Alliance Master Yi Junlin's enemy. It seems like he's dead meat. Everyone sneered. Especially those who were with Sun Daoyang. They naturally did not want to see Ling Xiao walk out of the 33rd Heavenly Palace alive. Rumble. Heaven and earth trembled, and the void shook. Endless chaotic light spewed out, and the entire 33rd Heavenly Palace shook violently. Mysterious and ancient light filled the air like the heavenly river flowing backward. It was so dense that no one could see the 33rd Heavenly Palace's shadow clearly. Crack. Lightning surged violently as a mysterious and ancient power rose. It made everyone tremble as their eyes were filled with disbelief. What is that? Someone said in a trembling voice. Up in the sky, the 33 heavenly palaces had disappeared without anyone noticing. In other words, the 33rd Heavenly Palace had turned into an ancient and majestic pagoda. Chaotic light intertwined around it, and divine chains of order filled the air. The void shook, and heaven and earth rumbled. That chaotic pagoda seemed to be able to suppress the heavens and shatter everything. Vaguely, a peerless figure appeared on the pagoda. It was like a supreme emperor who could suppress the heavens and destroy thousands of worlds. It had an invincible aura. That is Ling Xiao. Great Elder Life Spirit trembled, and his eyes were filled with surprise and joy when he saw the figure on the pagoda. If it was not Ling Xiao, who else could it be? He actually controls the pagoda. How is that possible? Sun Daoyang was stunned. His eyes were filled with disbelief, and his heart was filled with an inexplicable fear. The 36th Heavenly Supreme Pagoda had an owner? Chapter 3506. The 36th Sky Supreme Pagoda had been in the Heavenly Dao Business Alliance for countless years. Although the Heavenly Dao Business Alliance had produced many alliance leaders, none of them had been able to control the 36th Sky Supreme Pagoda and become its owner. Sun Daoyang was well aware of this. Therefore, the 33 Heavenly Palace was just a symbolic treasure in the Heavenly Dao Business Alliance. It was only used for the supreme elites of the Heavenly Dao Business Alliance to train. However, he had never imagined that he would one day see the 36th Sky Supreme Pagoda being controlled by someone else. Needless to say, this person was Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao had become the owner of the 36 Sky Supreme Pagoda. What did this mean? This was something that even Yi Junlin couldn't do. This meant that Ling Xiao was more suitable than Yi Junlin to become the alliance leader of the Heavenly Dao Business Alliance. Even Sun Daoyang, the first elder of the Heavenly Dao Business Alliance, couldn't stop him. Didn't he see the various expressions on the faces of the surrounding first elders? Some of them couldn't wait to express their loyalty to Ling Xiao. First elder Life Spirit was the happiest. After all, he had won the bet. In the past, he had only hoped that Ling Xiao could defeat Yi Junlin. However, he had never imagined that Ling Xiao would become the owner of the 36 Sky Supreme Pagoda. This meant that Ling Xiao was fully qualified to become the alliance leader of the Heavenly Dao Business Alliance. The 36 First Elders couldn't stop him at all. It should be known that the entire Heavenly Dao Business Alliance existed because of the 36 Sky Supreme Pagoda. Sun Daoyang, Ling Xiao has already become the owner of the 36 Sky Supreme Pagoda. I suggest that he is qualified to become the alliance leader. Do you have any objections? First Elder Life Spirit glanced at Sun Daoyang indifferently. The gazes of the surrounding First Elders also landed on Sun Daoyang. Sun Daoyang's expression instantly turned ugly. What else could he say now? Could he say that Ling Xiao wasn't qualified to become the alliance leader? However, if he dared to admit it, he would completely offend Yi Junlin. At that time, his reputation would be ruined and he might even face the risk of death. Damn First Elder Life Spirit. How dare he throw such a difficult problem at him? Rumble. In the sky, blazing divine light rose. Ling Xiao's figure came through the air, exuding a mysterious and powerful aura. It was as if he could destroy everything in his path. He was extremely powerful. He stood on top of the 36 Heavens Supreme Pagoda like a supreme celestial emperor, exuding an aura that made others involuntarily submit to him. His eyes were bright, resplendent, and incomparably sharp. When they landed on Sun Daoyang felt as if millions of divine mountains were pressing down on him. Such a terrifying pressure caused Sun Daoyang's heart to sink. Ling Xiao's strength was actually so terrifying. Young Master Ling Xiao is naturally qualified to inherit the position of Alliance Master. However, Yi Junlin was the direct disciple of the previous Alliance leader. He also had the right to inherit the position of Alliance leader. How about letting them decide who would inherit the position of Alliance leader themselves? We won't interfere. Sun Daoyang gritted his teeth. This was the limit of what he could do. He still hoped that Yi Junlin could defeat Ling Xiao and even kill him completely. Otherwise, if Ling Xiao ascended to the position of alliance leader, he would definitely suffer. Don't interfere. What a joke. If he becomes the owner of the 36 Heavens Supreme Pagoda, he will automatically become the owner of the Heavenly Dao Business Alliance. Even if the previous alliance leader was revived, he would have to submit to Ling Xiao and acknowledge him as his master. Who is Yi Junlin to be worthy of competing with Ling Xiao? Great Elder Life sneered. Sun Daoyang's words could be perfunctory to others, but not to him. He knew better than anyone why the Heavenly Dao Business Alliance existed. He also understood the significance of the 36 Heavens Supreme Pagoda. He knew that Yi Junlin's true identity was very likely related to the dark creatures, so he naturally didn't want Ling Xiao to take the risk. If Ling Xiao could directly become the alliance leader of the Heavenly Dao Business Alliance, it would be easy for him to kill Yi Junlin. If you want to become the alliance leader of the Heavenly Dao Business Alliance, you have to defeat me first. Ling Xiao, do you dare to fight with me? At that moment, a faint but ethereal voice sounded in the void. That figure was like an immortal emperor above the 9 heavens. He broke through the layers of chaos and exuded a vast and boundless aura. In an instant, he appeared in front of everyone. Yi Junlin! Someone exclaimed. His eyes were filled with incomparable shock. It was a young man who was perfect and flawless. He was surrounded by ethereal immortal light. It was as if he could push the sun, moon, and stars as he moved. Chaotic mist fell from his thick hair. His face was handsome and elegant, and his eyes were bright and resplendent. There was a faint smile at the corner of his mouth. When he appeared between heaven and earth, it was as if the entire world fell silent. That mysterious and powerful aura filled the heavenly Tao Emperor star. It was so powerful that everyone felt an immense pressure. You are Yi Junlin. Ling Xiao's eyes were calm and indifferent as he looked at Yi Junlin. You are Ling Xiao. Yi Junlin smiled and asked in return. Rumble. The invisible aura between the two of them clashed. However, it was as if a monstrous wave had been set off in an instant. Immortal light whistled, and it was as if a strange scene of billions of worlds had appeared in an instant. Their gazes collided in the chaotic void. There was actually a light beam that exploded and swept through a galaxy. Ling Xiao, don't agree with him. Yi Junlin is already at the peak of the 9th heaven of the quasi-immortal emperor realm. Not to mention, he is a dark creature and has all kinds of strange means. You don't need to fight with him. You control the 36 Heavens Supreme Tower. I will definitely help you become the Alliance leader. Great Elder Life hurriedly transmitted her voice to Ling Xiao. Don't worry. This battle must be fought. This is also the best opportunity to reveal his identity as a dark creature. I will not lose. Ling Xiao replied. Although his voice was calm, it was filled with determination. All right. Then you must be careful. Great Elder Life sighed softly. Seeing that she could not persuade Ling Xiao, she did not continue to persuade him. Ling Xiao, don't tell me you don't even have the courage to fight with me. If that's the case, then you don't deserve to be the alliance leader of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. Yi Junlin said with a faint smile. His eyes were deep and there seemed to be a strange black light spreading out from them. You don't have to provoke me. Yi Junlin, I know what you are thinking. However, I will let you understand that the so-called conspiracy is nothing in the face of absolute strength. If you want to fight with me, I will fulfill your wish. Ling Xiao said indifferently. An incomparably powerful battle intent surged in his eyes. Boom! His cultivation at the peak of the 7th heaven of the quasi-immortal emperor realm erupted. His powerful and boundless aura was wrapped in layers of chaotic lightning. It swept across the heavens and earth and pressed down on Yi Junlin mightily. Chapter 3507. Rumble. The surrounding chaos exploded. Blazing immortal light illuminated the 9 heavens and 10 lands. Surging lightning swept across the chaotic heavens. Ling Xiao's eyes were extremely cold in the boundless sky. Immortal mist lingered around him as if he was pushing the sun, moon, and stars. His aura was extremely terrifying. A beam of chaotic immortal light swept across the 9 heavens like a heavenly river. It carried the unparalleled aura of billions of chaotic immortal mountains and pressed down on Yi Junlin. Sun Daoyang, the first elder life spirit, and the others couldn't help but change their expressions. The only difference was that Sun Daoyang's expression was extremely ugly. As for first elder life, she was pleasantly surprised. They were all 9th heaven's quasi-immortal emperors, but Ling Xiao's attack made them feel incomparably terrifying pressure. Would Yi Junlin be able to block it? Kill! Yi Junlin's eyes also revealed a dense killing intent as he suddenly let out an explosive roar. His voice was like thunder that split the heavens and earth, surging violently and shaking the heavenly Tao Emperor star. Then, an unparalleled palm print pushed out. The blazing golden light was dazzling like the sun, illuminating the 9 heavens as it mightily welcomed Ling Xiao. Rumble. The void exploded with a loud bang. It was as if billions of bright immortal suns had exploded at the same time, and a turbulent storm swept across the heavens. Everyone saw Ling Xiao and Yi Junlin's silhouettes appear in the boundless chaotic void and begin an intense battle. In fact, Yi Junlin was not as calm as he looked on the surface. His heart was filled with shock and disbelief. He had always thought that everything was under his control. He was the young alliance master of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. Sun Daoyang and the other elders supported him. He had a righteous name and could easily ascend to the alliance master's throne. Even if Ling Xiao had appeared, he did not take him seriously. He was just an ant. He could just kill him. However, Ling Xiao had passed the test of the 33 heavenly palaces and directly become the master of the 36 heavenly supreme tower, shocking the 3,000 stars of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. He was in an extremely passive position. After all, according to the ancient tradition of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance, even the alliance master of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance had to respectfully address the master of the 36 heavenly supreme tower. It would be too easy for Ling Xiao to ascend to the position of alliance chief. Even the great elders couldn't stop it. If he wanted to control the Heavenly Law Business Alliance, he had to kill Ling Xiao in this battle. Fortunately, Ling Xiao agreed to fight with him. The Heaven Tao Business Alliance was the most important part of his plan, and he had to take complete control of it. Otherwise, he didn't know how long it would take for the ancient darkness world to conquer the eternal immortal domains. Yes, Yi Junlin was indeed a creature of darkness. Moreover, he was an extremely ancient existence in the ancient darkness world. He was a true dark celestial emperor. This plan had already begun millions of years ago. He severed his own blade to shed the darkness and preserve his true spirit. Then, he reincarnated in the eternal immortal domains and joined the Heaven Tao Business League. Step by step, he became the young alliance master of the Heavenly Law Business Alliance. If it wasn't for the fact that the life law that the great elder life cultivated was too special and had coincidentally discovered the abnormality, Yi Junlin would have already become the leader of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. Ling Xiao must die. This matter was related to the ancient darkness world, and no one could stop it. Rumble. Ling Xiao and Yi Junlin continued to clash in the chaotic void. Every time they collided, a monstrous chaotic storm would erupt, and blazing divine light would sweep in all directions. The stars in the sky shook, and the heavens shattered. They were like chaos-fiend gods who had created the universe. They fought to the edge of the universe, to the end of the chaos. This was an extremely intense battle. Although Ling Xiao's cultivation was only at the peak of the seventh heaven of the half-immortal emperor realm, his true battle strength was extremely powerful. He could be said to be invincible under the immortal emperor realm. Yi Junlin was the reincarnation of a dark celestial emperor. He was at the peak of the ninth heaven of the half-immortal emperor realm, and had cultivated all kinds of supreme immortal emperor arts and forbidden techniques of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. His strength was extremely terrifying. Sun Daoyang, the great elder life, and the others were secretly amazed by this battle. At the same time, they were even more worried. Who would be the final winner of this battle between Ling Xiao and Yi Junlin? You're really good at keeping your composure. Even now, you're still not willing to reveal anything? Ling Xiao's gaze was incomparably cold as he mocked. He stepped on the chaos, and above his head was the starry sky. An unparalleled fist mark swept across the sky, destroying everything. It was boundlessly terrifying. When Yi Junlin collided with his unparalleled fist mark, he would be directly forced back. What are you talking about? I don't understand. However, I'm afraid you won't have the chance to become the alliance leader today. Yi Junlin's eyes flashed with killing intent as he retorted. He naturally understood that Ling Xiao was referring to his identity as a dark creature. However, as long as he didn't expose himself, no matter what Ling Xiao said, no one would believe him. Ling Xiao was far more difficult to deal with than he had imagined. He had to kill Ling Xiao as soon as possible. He felt a trace of uneasiness in his heart. It was as if he didn't attack as soon as possible, he wouldn't have the chance to attack anymore. However, there were no immortal emperors in the entire Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. Who could pose a threat to a dark celestial emperor like him? Kill! Yi Junlin's eyes were blazing with killing intent as he suddenly roared. Boom! Blazing golden light gushed out from his body like a golden ocean, sweeping in all directions and destroying everything. It contained a mighty power that could obliterate everything. Ling Xiao sank into the golden ocean as if he had entered a muddy swamp. His speed instantly became extremely slow. At the same time, the golden ocean was still constantly draining his vitality, wanting to enter his body and break him down into pieces to become a part of the golden ocean. Lifeless world destruction, immortal golden sun, infinite creation, immeasurable chaos. Great nirvana lifeless world destruction golden light, kill. Yi Junlin sat cross-legged in the chaotic void, looking solemn and dignified as he spat out an obscure and majestic voice. Dazzling golden light gathered between his brows. In an instant, it seemed to have come from the depths of the chaos, turning into streaks of dazzling golden light beams. Like a golden net, they covered the sky and enveloped Ling Xiao. The golden light beams pierced through the chaos and shattered the world, containing a terrifying killing intent that could obliterate everything. In an instant, the golden ocean around Ling Xiao seemed to be boiling as well. It turned into a golden flame, completely trapping Ling Xiao within. It was like a boundless hell that contained the most terrifying killing intent. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed sharply. He felt the most fatal killing intent from the golden light beams, as if they could destroy everything. Even his quasi-immortal emperor body could not withstand it. Ling Xiao even felt that even an immortal emperor would be severely injured in front of such a supreme divine ability. Is this your trump card? A terrifying aura rose around Ling Xiao, causing the void to tremble violently. A chaotic ancient scripture bloomed with dazzling immortal light, instantly appearing above Ling Xiao's head and illuminating the heavens. In an instant, the entire heavenly Tao Emperor's star trembled. Chapter 3508. Rumble. The blazing primal chaos ancient scripture exuded an ancient and mysterious aura, causing the surrounding void to tremble violently. Ling Xiao floated under the primal chaos ancient scripture. The aura around him was vast and boundless. He was like an invincible great emperor, exuding an invincible aura. That's the legendary primal chaos ancient scripture. Great Elder Life Spirit suddenly exclaimed. Her eyes were filled with disbelief and excitement. What? The primal chaos ancient scripture? Sun Daoyang was also shocked. As the great elders of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance, they knew some of the secrets of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. For example, the Primal Chaos Ancient Scripture was a supreme inheritance left behind by the Primal Chaos Ancient Immortal Emperor. The 36 Sky Supreme Pagoda was a supreme treasure left behind by the Primal Chaos Ancient Immortal Emperor. Ling Xiao had already obtained the 36 Sky Supreme Pagoda. Now that Ling Xiao had manifested the Primal Chaos Ancient Scripture, didn't that mean that Ling Xiao had obtained the inheritance of the Primal Chaos Ancient Immortal Emperor? This news instantly caused an uproar on the Heavenly Tao Emperor star. The great elders of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance were also extremely shocked. Even their attitude towards Ling Xiao had changed drastically. If that was the case, then Ling Xiao was the true master of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. Even if the previous alliance leader of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance reappeared, he wouldn't be able to stop it, let alone a mere young alliance leader, Yi Junlin. Rumble. Just as everyone was letting their imaginations run wild, the Primal Chaos Ancient Scripture released a boundless radiance, causing the surrounding sky to tremble violently. It was as if it had evolved into a Primal Chaos Ancient world, enveloping Ling Xiao within it. Although Yi Junlin's great nirvana lifeless golden light seemed to be able to destroy everything, it was instantly enveloped by the Primal Chaos Ancient world and shot towards the Primal Chaos Ancient Scripture. Buzz! The Primal Chaos Ancient Scripture buzzed and trembled. It actually swallowed the incomparably strange great nirvana lifeless golden light. What? Yi Junlin's body trembled. His eyes revealed a trace of disbelief. The great nirvana lifeless golden light could kill even a peak 9th heaven immortal emperor. It was one of Yi Junlin's strongest trump cards. Originally, he thought that even if Ling Xiao did not die, he would be severely injured. Who would have thought that Ling Xiao would be able to block it so easily? Take one of my attacks as well. The corners of Ling Xiao's mouth curled into a smile that was not a smile, and his voice boomed like thunder. Boom! Boundless chaotic light rose and the ancient chaotic world seemed to fuse directly into Ling Xiao's palm. An ancient and vigorous chaotic palm print covered the sky and pressed down on Yi Junlin. That chaotic palm print enveloped the heavenly Tao Emperor's star and the 3,000 supreme stars. It was as if it had covered the entire celestial realm. Yi Junlin had no room to dodge at all. Damn it! Yi Junlin's expression turned ugly. He hadn't expected Ling Xiao to obtain the inheritance of the primal chaos ancient immortal emperor. He felt a strong sense of crisis as the palm pressed down on him. It was as if he was facing a supreme celestial emperor. Kill! Yi Junlin roared. Blazing golden light rose around him. An ancient cauldron appeared above his head, blooming with boundless light. At the same time, he pushed out his arms. Strange runes intertwined and turned into 9 world barriers. They were connected by a powerful restrictive force and blocked in front of Ling Xiao. Crack! The chaos palm print came crashing down. The ancient cauldron trembled violently. It was an extremely powerful quasi-immortal emperor's supreme treasure. It was terrifying and had an extremely strong defensive power. However, under the chaotic palm print, the ancient cauldron broke inch by inch. The runes were annihilated, and in the end, it collapsed with a loud bang. Even the 9-layer world barrier was destroyed inch by inch as if it was made of paper. In the end, Ling Xiao's terrifying chaotic palm landed on Yi Junlin's chest, drowning him completely. Rumble! Blazing divine light surged, and the void all around trembled. Is Yi Junlin dead? First Elder Life Spirit exchanged glances with Sun Daoyang and the others. Their eyes were filled with grave expressions. The chaotic palm print from the chaotic ancient scripture was too terrifying. It made their scalps tingle, and they couldn't resist it at all. Although Yi Junlin was strong, he probably couldn't block this palm, right? Boom! Right at this moment, the sky seemed to have shattered. The endless chaotic void seemed to be dyed black. A dark aura gushed out, and a black ancient cauldron appeared in the sky above the heavenly Tao Emperor star. Yi Junlin stood under the black ancient cauldron. His entire body was dark, and he exuded an aura that was incompatible with this world. His entire person became demonic and cold, and his eyes were filled with cold light. Creature of darkness? Yi Junlin, you're finally not hiding anymore. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed as he said indifferently. What? Everyone was stunned. They were instantly in an uproar. The young alliance master of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance, Yi Junlin, was actually a creature of darkness? This was simply a fantasy. Since when did the creatures of darkness infiltrate so deeply into the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance and almost take complete control of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance? Thinking of this, everyone felt incomparably fearful. Ling Xiao, you ruined my plans. You deserve to die. Yi Junlin's expression was gloomy, and his eyes were filled with cold killing intent as he stared at Ling Xiao. There was a strange trace of blood at the corner of his mouth. Although he looked dark and evil, his aura was extremely chaotic. It was obvious that he had been severely injured. If it weren't for the protection of the Dark Origin Cauldron, which was an emperor artifact from his previous life, he would probably have been killed by Ling Xiao's chaotic palm print. Even so, he still suffered an unimaginable injury. Yi Junlin, you rats who only know how to hide in the ancient darkness world dare to touch my Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. You're courting death. Ling Xiao sneered, and his eyes were filled with cold killing intent. Ling Xiao, you ruined my plans. When I recover my cultivation, I'll make you suffer a fate worse than death. Yi Junlin said through gritted teeth. The Dark Origin Cauldron emitted a strange black demonic light. In an instant, it opened up a part of the sky and tore a passage. He was actually preparing to escape. After all, no matter how strong Ling Xiao was, he didn't know what other trump cards the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance had. Therefore, he was prepared to leave this place first. You want to leave? You'd better leave your life behind. Ling Xiao's gaze was extremely cold. Boom! The ground beneath his feet suddenly shook, and the 36 Heavens Supreme Pagoda emitted a mysterious light. Streaks of immortal light spread out like divine chains of order. The ancient supreme pagoda mightily suppressed Yi Junlin. Chapter 3509. Rumble. The 36 Heavens Supreme Pagoda seemed to contain the mighty power of 36 universes as it pressed down on Yi Junlin. Its terrifying aura seemed to be able to tear the heavens and earth apart. Damn it! Yi Junlin's expression changed drastically. The terrifying power of the 36 Heavens Supreme Pagoda made his scalp go numb. He had a feeling that a great disaster was about to befall him. Without hesitation, he activated the Dark Origin Cauldron with all his might and broke through the layers of void to escape. But it was too late. Crack! The 36 Heavens Supreme Pagoda sealed everything like a dazzling curtain of chaos as it slammed into the Dark Origin Cauldron. The Dark Origin Cauldron trembled violently as blazing light spewed out. Boundless dark energy exploded and swept out in all directions like a vast ocean. That strange and evil aura caused everyone's faces to turn pale. It was as if they had sunk into the depths of hell. Ah! Yi Junlin's expression changed drastically as he spat out a mouthful of blood. His aura instantly weakened. Even the Darkness Origin Cauldron began to buzz and tremble. Dark runes began to shatter one after another, and the cauldron began to lose its luster. Yi Junlin's eyes were filled with unconcealable fear. The Dark Origin Cauldron was a supreme Dark Emperor weapon that he had refined. Its power was boundless, but he had never expected the 36 Heavens Supreme Pagoda to be so powerful. No wonder he was once the strongest person in the Eternal Immortal Domain, the Primal Chaos Ancient Immortal Emperor. It seemed like the Primal Chaos Ancient Immortal Emperor had touched the legendary realm. Otherwise, the 36 Heavens Supreme Pagoda wouldn't be so terrifying. Even the Dark Origin Cauldron couldn't resist it. Kill! Ling Xiao's eyes were incomparably cold. His voice was like a thunderclap that shook the chaotic void. The 36 Heavens Supreme Pagoda shone with blazing divine light that seemed capable of destroying everything as it once again pressed down on Yi Junlin. Crack! The Dark Origin Cauldron trembled violently. Under the suppression of the 36 Heavens Supreme Pagoda, its light dimmed and cracks appeared. In the end, the Dark Origin Cauldron let out an unwilling hum as it was swallowed by the 36 Heavens Supreme Pagoda. Under Yi Junlin's fearful and despairing gaze, the 36 Heavens Supreme Pagoda descended and completely engulfed him. No! Yi Junlin's unwilling and fearful voice abruptly stopped. His entire body instantly exploded, turning into a bloody mist. Even though he was at the peak of the 9th heaven of the quasi-immortal Emperor realm and had many trump cards, he was still unable to withstand the suppression of the 36 Heavens Supreme Tower. Boom! His body exploded, his primordial spirit was destroyed, and his soul dispersed. Yi Junlin is really dead? Everyone on the Heavenly Law Emperor's star was stunned. They looked at the figure in the sky in awe. They were in a daze. They had not expected Yi Junlin to die so easily. Yi Junlin's strength had long been deeply imprinted in the hearts of everyone in the Heavenly Dao Business Alliance. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to subdue Sun Daoyang and the others and make them support Yi Junlin to become the alliance leader. But now, he was still dead. He died miserably in the hands of Ling Xiao. What Yi Junlin? He's clearly a creature of darkness. That damned creature of darkness actually wants to encroach on my Heavenly Dao Business Union? If it weren't for Lord Ling Xiao, our Heavenly Dao Business Alliance would have been consigned to eternal damnation. Someone said angrily. Only then did everyone come back to their senses. Their eyes were filled with fear. That's right. If Ling Xiao hadn't intervened, the Heavenly Dao Business Alliance would have fallen into the hands of the creature of darkness. They would have been corrupted by darkness and turned against the eternal immortal domains. They would have been reduced to puppets for all eternity. That would have been a fate worse than death. Ling Xiao, he really killed Yi Junlin. Cold sweat dripped down Sun Daoyang's face. Light flickered around him, and he wanted to tear open the void and escape. After all, he was Yi Junlin's loyal follower. He believed that Ling Xiao wouldn't let him go. If he didn't leave now, he would be dead for sure. Sun Daoyang, you've fallen into darkness and betrayed the eternal immortal domains. Do you think you can just walk away like this? Ling Xiao's gaze fell on Sun Daoyang as he spoke with a half-smile. Then, the 36 Heavens Supreme Pagoda shook slightly and shot out divine chains of order. They traversed the void and wrapped around Sun Daoyang's body in an instant. Boom! Sun Daoyang's peak 9th Heaven Quasi-Immortal Emperor cultivation base burst forth. Boundless waves of divine light surged, but he couldn't break free from the divine chains of order. His face was ashen, and his eyes were filled with despair. Ling Xiao, the winner takes all. I, Sun Daoyang, admit defeat. Sun Daoyang said unwillingly. If you had only followed Yi Junlin, then it would have been an internal struggle within the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. Although it was despicable, you still had a reason to live. However, you shouldn't have fallen into darkness and become a puppet of darkness. Therefore, I have no choice but to ask you to die. Ling Xiao's gaze was incomparably cold. Boom! The 36 Heavens Supreme Tower crushed down on Sun Daoyang. Chaotic light surged, and a vast illusory world appeared. Terrifying, boundless power erupted. Dense power of darkness seeped out from his body, making him look extremely ferocious as he kept cursing. Sun Daoyang let out an incomparably miserable shriek as his body exploded. The first elder of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance was dead. Sun Daoyang has fallen into darkness. Damn it! First Elder Life Spirit was also very surprised. His eyes were filled with anger. If he hadn't brought Ling Xiao back, the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance would have been doomed. His eyes were filled with excitement and joy as he looked at Ling Xiao. First Elder Life Spirit and the other First Elders looked at each other and seemed to have made a decision. At this moment, they all knelt on one knee before Ling Xiao. We pay our respects to the Alliance leader. We pay our respects to the Alliance leader. Apart from the dead Sun Daoyang, the other 35 First Elders, led by First Elder Life Spirit, knelt down one after another. Their voices were like thunder, spreading throughout the Heavenly Tao Emperor Star. Seeing that the 35 First Elders had knelt down, the surrounding experts of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance no longer hesitated and knelt down like a tsunami. We pay our respects to the Alliance leader. We pay our respects to the Alliance leader. The entire Heavenly Tao Business Alliance had completely submitted. In the void, Ling Xiao stood atop the 36 Heavens Supreme Tower. His eyes were incomparably sharp, and his entire body exuded an invincible aura. His stature was boundless, and it seemed as if he could prop up the chaos of heaven and earth. Everyone, rise. Ling Xiao only spoke slowly after everyone's voices had died down. He had become the alliance leader of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance and completely controlled this supreme power. From now on, in the eternal immortal domain, unless an immortal emperor appeared, he stood at the absolute peak. Chapter 35:10. Ling Xiao became the new leader of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance, and everyone submitted to him. Ling Xiao promoted Great Elder Life to the number 1 Great Elder of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. She was second only to him and above everyone else. Sun Daoyang, the original number 1 Great Elder, was killed by Ling Xiao. Although the other Great Elders had submitted to Sun Daoyang and Yi Junlin, they did not fall into darkness. Seeing that Ling Xiao had become the new leader of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance, they were shocked and worried. They all expressed their loyalty. Ling Xiao dismissed a few of Sun Daoyang's trusted subordinates and promoted several powerful quasi-immortal emperors who were imprisoned by Sun Daoyang and Yi Junlin. As a result, Ling Xiao completely controlled the entire Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. After Ling Xiao controlled the entire Heavenly Tao Business Alliance, he went into seclusion. The Heavenly Tao Business Alliance controlled a perfect eternal realm. There was an origin source world tree that contained the complete eternal Heavenly Tao law. Yi Junlin had also entered the eternal realm before, which was why his cultivation could improve so quickly. That was one of the foundations of the Heavenly Tao Business Alliance. Only the leader could enter it. Ling Xiao entered the eternal realm. His origin source world tree had already opened up the embryonic form of a chaotic world. It was mysterious and unfathomable. In the eternal realm, not only did he begin to integrate with the origin source world tree, but his cultivation also improved by leaps and bounds. Ling Xiao was already at the peak of the seventh heaven of the quasi-immortal emperor realm. In the eternal realm, his cultivation speed increased by hundreds and thousands of times. Almost naturally, his cultivation broke through to the ninth heaven of the quasi-immortal emperor realm. He was only one step away from the true supreme immortal emperor realm. Is this the ninth heaven of the quasi-immortal emperor realm? An ancient and majestic world tree took root in the chaos. Immortal light was ethereal, and chaos mist lingered around it. Its aura was terrifying and boundless. Ling Xiao sat cross-legged under the world tree and slowly opened his eyes. Two bright and sharp rays of light bloomed in his eyes. It was as if they had pierced through the sky and destroyed the chaos. They were eternal and immortal. His aura became more and more ethereal and mysterious. Ling Xiao could faintly sense that there was an unfathomably deep abyss before him. As long as he could cross it, he would be able to reach the immortal emperor realm. However, his current accumulation was still insufficient to cross that abyss. If he forcefully broke through, there was an 80% to 90% chance that he would fail. He still needed more accumulation and a deeper foundation. Master said that my opportunity to become an immortal emperor is in the great desolation world. It seems like it's time for me to return. Ling Xiao's eyes flickered as he muttered to himself. His heart was filled with endless longing. I wonder how Jin Sei, Shui Wei, and that pair of adorable children are doing. Ling Xiao was now the lord of the Heaven Dao Business Alliance, one of the most powerful organizations in the eternal immortal domains. In fact, it was comparable to the Radiance Immortal Court in the Central Immortal Domain. Although the previous alliance master had fallen and there were no more celestial emperors, Ling Xiao could feel that the Heavenly Dao Business Alliance's foundation was extremely terrifying. Even if an celestial emperor powerhouse were to forcefully attack, they would not be able to gain any advantage. Ling Xiao slowly got up and tore open the void before him. He left this everlasting realm and returned to the Heavenly Law Emperor Star. Outside, Grand Elder Life Force was waiting. Grand Elder, what's the matter? Ling Xiao was taken aback. Grand Elder Life Force's eyes were filled with excitement and joy when he saw Ling Xiao emerge from seclusion. His cultivation base had become even more unfathomable. He said to Ling Xiao, Alliance Master, the Heavenly Dao Business Alliance of the Radiance Immortal Court just sent a message. The little princess of the Radiance Immortal Court, Di Hongwan, is asking for help. She wants you to go to the Radiance Immortal Court. She seems to be in trouble. Di Hongwan? What's wrong with her? Ling Xiao frowned. Di Hongwan had helped him a lot, and he considered her a friend. When he first came to the Heaven Dao Business Alliance, Di Hongwan had asked him to visit the Radiance Immortal Court when he had the time. It seemed that the Radiance Immortal Court was in trouble. According to their information, the Celestial Emperor of the Radiance Immortal Court has encountered the 5 signs of heavenly decay and is in seclusion. Right now, the Radiance Immortal Court is at its weakest. Originally, the Radiance Crown Prince was about to inherit the throne, but a branch prince, Di Tian, suddenly rose up and defeated the Radiance Crown Prince, Di Guangming. Di Hongwan is naturally on Di Guangming's side. It seems that she had a conflict with Di Tian and was injured. According to Grand Elder Feng Hui, Di Tian and Yi Junlin used to have a close relationship. Grand Elder Life Force said slowly. Grand Elder Feng Hui was the Grand Elder of the Heaven Dao Business Alliance stationed in the Radiance Immortal Court. He used to be Sun Daoyang and Yi Junlin's most loyal subordinate. After Sun Daoyang and Yi Junlin died, he was terrified. Therefore, he revealed many secrets and showed his loyalty to Ling Xiao. He temporarily kept his position as the Grand Elder. Are you suspecting that Di Tian is also related to the dark creature? Ling Xiao's eyes flashed sharply. It's very possible. Grand Elder Life Force said slowly with a serious expression. Ling Xiao nodded. He understood Grand Elder Life Force's concern. If Di Tian only wanted to compete with Di Guangming for the throne, it was an internal matter of the Radiance Immortal Court. The Heaven Dao Business Alliance could not interfere. However, Di Tian had a close relationship with Yi Junlin. It was very likely that he was a dark creature. If the Radiance Immortal Court was controlled by a dark creature, it would be a major matter. Moreover, Ling Xiao and Di Hongwan were close. Whether it was for public or private reasons, he had to take care of this matter. I understand. I'll make a trip to the Radiance Immortal Court now. If Di Tian really is a dark creature, I won't let him go. Ling Xiao nodded and said. With the alliance leader personally taking action, there's no chance of anything going wrong. Grand Elder Life Force smiled faintly. After the Radiance Immortal Court's matters are settled, I'll make a trip to the Chaos Sea. There are some things I need to take care of. There's a path for me to seek enlightenment, Ling Xiao said slowly. A path for you to seek enlightenment? Grand Elder Life Force trembled. His eyes shone with excitement and joy. Congratulations, Alliance Leader. If you become an immortal emperor, you'll definitely shine brightly in the eternal immortal domains. At that time, it won't be impossible for you to rule over the eternal immortal domains like the primordial chaos immortal emperor. Once I've attained enlightenment, I'll settle the matter of the ancient darkness world. Ling Xiao's eyes flashed sharply, revealing an incomparably strong desire to fight. He knew how powerful the ancient darkness world was. It could be said to be the eternal immortal court's mortal enemy. Although countless immortal emperors couldn't deal with it, Ling Xiao was full of confidence and confidence. However, Ling Xiao was filled with fighting spirit and confidence. He was prepared to deal with the ancient darkness world once and for all. Boom! Ling Xiao exuded an incomparably powerful aura. With a wave of his hand, he tore apart the space before him and stepped into it, heading toward the Radiance Immortal Court. Chapter 35:11. In the Light Immortal Court. In the Heavenly Palace. In the Light Palace. This was an extremely majestic and huge immortal palace. It was located in the chaos and was surrounded by divine light. Auspicious qi rose and exuded an immortal and mysterious light. This was where the supreme authority of the Light Immortal Court was. The Light Emperor Lord summoned all his officials here to deal with important matters. However, at this moment, the Light Palace was filled with bloody light and a murderous aura. There were shouts and screams all around and an intense battle could be heard. In the Light Palace. A handsome young man wearing the light immortal armor was surrounded by light chaotic qi. However, his face was extremely pale. He held an immortal sword in his hand and fell powerlessly on the stone steps. In front of him was Di Hongwan, who was wearing a red armor that outlined her perfect figure. Her face was ferocious and her eyes were cold. She led a group of powerful and loyal soldiers and guarded the young man in the center. Hongwan, leave. The outcome is already decided. Di Tian is powerful and ruthless. You and I can't defeat him. If you leave now, he won't hurt you. It's worth it to use my life in exchange for the safety of the Light Immortal Court. The young man in the light immortal armor said with a bitter smile. He was the crown prince of the Light Immortal Court, Di Guangming. Originally, the immortal emperor of the Light Immortal Court was in seclusion and he was destined to ascend the throne and become the Light Emperor. However, he didn't expect Di Tian, a crown prince of the Light Immortal Court, to suddenly rise. Not only did he win the hearts of many important people, he even attacked the throne. Even the crown prince of the light chaotic body, Di Guangming, who was extremely talented and powerful, was severely injured by Di Tian. As a result, Di Guangming and Di Hongwan were defeated and finally retreated to the Light Palace. Outside, Di Tian was launching his final attack on the Light Palace. No! Big brother, the position of Celestial Emperor was originally yours. Who does that Di Tian think he is? If he didn't use despicable means to injure you, he wouldn't be your opponent at all. Today, no matter what, I won't let him touch the throne. Di Hongwan said stubbornly. Her eyes were filled with determination. She didn't know why, but a silhouette appeared in her mind. It was that handsome, elegant, and undefeatable young man. Ling Xiao. Could he really make it in time? If Ling Xiao was here, he might be able to deal with Di Tian easily. But now, he probably couldn't wait for Ling Xiao. Rumble. At this moment, a loud sound broke Di Hongwan's train of thought. Outside the Light Palace, two golden-armored warriors spat out blood as they flew in, their eyes filled with shock and anger. They were Ming Feng and Ming Dian, the two supreme experts who were guarding the Radiant Palace. They were both seventh heaven quasi-immortal emperors. Even the two of them had been defeated. As expected, from outside the Light Palace, a group of people walked in majestically. The leader was a young man in a black dragon robe. He had a handsome face and looked extremely demonic. His eyes seemed to contain the strange scenes of 3,000 worlds being destroyed. He walked over with a majestic gait, and even the heavens and earth trembled. Divine chains of order descended, causing the entire Hall of Light to rumble. Obviously, he possessed an extremely terrifying physique that could make the Daos of the world resonate with him. Every single move he made possessed supreme might that could suppress all things. He was Di Tian. Di Tian's gaze fell on Di Hongwan and Di Guangming. He said mockingly, "Are you still going to resist? The two of you have extraordinary talents. If you submit to me now, I can spare your lives. Otherwise, the Light Palace will be stained with blood today." He revealed his ninth heaven quasi-immortal emperor cultivation. It swept across the sky and suppressed Di Guangming and Di Hongwan. Although Di Guangming was also a ninth heaven quasi-immortal emperor, he was severely injured and had yet to recover. As for Di Hongwan, she was only a third heaven quasi-immortal emperor. She couldn't withstand Di Tian's terrifying aura. Di Tian, you despicable and shameless person. If you didn't use such despicable means, how could you be my brother Guangming's match? Do you think you're worthy of the throne? Di Hongwan glared at Di Tian and said angrily. It's not up to you to decide whether I'm worthy or not. The winner takes all. Looks like you've chosen to resist. Di Tian sneered. Di Tian, let's fight. If you win, my life is yours. But you have to let Hongwan go. If you lose, you have to leave the Light Palace. What do you think? Di Guangming held the Light Immortal sword in his hand and struggled to stand up. His eyes were sharp and filled with an unparalleled fighting spirit. You still have the courage to fight me at this point? Di Guangming, you're really good. Very good, I'll fulfill your wish. Di Tian sneered. Brother, no, Di Hongwan panicked and tried to stop him. Hongwan, listen to me. This is our last chance. I'm sure you know how powerful Di Tian is. I'm the only one who can fight him now. Di Guangming sighed and said seriously to Di Hongwan. No. Brother, we still have a chance. When that person comes, we'll be able to turn the tables. Di Hongwan said stubbornly. That person? Ha ha ha. Di Hongwan, do you really think that there's someone who can save you now? Di Tian laughed out loud. The mockery in his eyes became even more intense. Who says that no one can save them? At this moment, an indifferent and ethereal voice exploded in the Light Palace. Who's there? Di Tian's expression changed and he suddenly roared. Crack! Outside the Light Palace, the chaotic void was directly torn apart by an unparalleled mighty force. Under the blazing light, a majestic and mysterious figure strode out from it. Di Tian's eyes suddenly narrowed. The chaotic void outside the Light Palace had a supreme immortal emperor formation set up by the immortal emperor ancestors of the Light Immortal Court. Even he could not tear it apart. That figure could tear the void apart so easily and come here. Could it be that he was a true supreme immortal emperor? Rumble. Chaotic light surged and his aura was unfathomable. The figure gradually revealed his true appearance. He was dressed in white and stood out from the crowd. He had an ethereal temperament and a handsome face. His eyes seemed to contain an endless chaotic starry sky. The river of time flowed around him and he exuded an eternal and immortal aura. Who else could it be but Ling Xiao? Ling Xiao. Di Hongwan's body trembled and her eyes were filled with surprise. She did not expect Ling Xiao to be here. You're Ling Xiao. Di Tian's entire body trembled as well. An expression as if he had just seen a ghost appeared in his eyes. He never thought that the person who had arrived would be Ling Xiao. Chapter 35:12. Di Tian would never have guessed that it was Ling Xiao. Should I call you Di Tian? Or should I call you the wordless heavenly book? Or perhaps, the creature of darkness? Ling Xiao's eyes glowed brightly as he looked at Di Tian and said indifferently. When Di Tian had recognized him, he had also recognized Di Tian's true identity. The weapon spirit of the wordless heavenly book. He had never imagined that the weapon spirit of the wordless heavenly book would not have remained in the eldritch world, but had crossed the boundless chaos sea and come to the eternal immortal domains. And he had become the prince of the Radiance Immortal Court, Di Tian. Just as Di Hongwan had guessed, Ling Xiao sensed a thick aura of the origin of darkness from Di Tian. He really was the creature of darkness. What? Di Guangming and Di Hongwan both shuddered. Although they did not know what the weapon spirit of the wordless heavenly book was, they had heard of the creature of darkness clearly. Di Tian was the creature of darkness? Ling Xiao, you're really haunting me. I never thought that I would run into a jinx like you wherever I go. Today, let's settle all our grudges. The weapon spirit of the wordless heavenly book glared at Ling Xiao, his eyes filled with hatred. In the eldritch world, he had schemed for countless years, but in the end, he had failed miserably and suffered a great loss at Ling Xiao's hands. Even the opportunity to enter the eternal world had been taken away by Ling Xiao. He had gone through untold hardships to come to the eternal immortal domains, and with the support of the creature of darkness, he had become the prince of the Radiance Immortal Court. Just as he was about to become the Radiance Emperor and take control of the Radiance Immortal Court, he had run into Ling Xiao again. His hatred for Ling Xiao had reached a boiling point. You're right. Today, we're going to settle all our grudges. You should also submit to your fate. Ling Xiao's eyes were calm as he spoke. Rumble. At the same time, Di Tian could not hold back any longer. Murderous aura rose around him, and a terrifying killing intent filled the air, enveloping the entire Radiance Palace. His cultivation base at the 9th level of the Immortal Emperor realm erupted completely. An ancient halberd appeared in his hand and he slashed down towards Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao was stunned. His eyes were filled with hatred. His eyes were filled with hatred. He displayed his most powerful combat strength, which made Di Hongwan pale in fright. Di Guangming's expression was grave. Before this, Di Guangming was still unconvinced of Di Tian's strength. However, at this moment, he had no choice but to admit that Di Tian was still terrifyingly strong even without resorting to underhanded means. That halberd exuded a monstrous baleful aura, and a surging emperor's aura enveloped the area. It was clearly an incomparably terrifying emperor's weapon. He was determined to kill Ling Xiao directly. Too weak. Ling Xiao said indifferently. After that, he slammed his palm down towards Di Tian. Crack. The heavens and earth rumbled as thunderbolts surged. The heavens and earth in all directions trembled violently, as if a monstrous giant palm had descended from the primordial chaos. The huge palm print seemed to be able to destroy everything. It exuded an eternal and indestructible aura, enveloping the monstrous baleful aura. Boom! The unparalleled palm print slammed onto the ancient halberd, causing the ancient halberd to tremble violently, and cracks began to appear on it. In the end, the ancient halberd shattered into pieces. The palm print did not lose its momentum and continued to slash down towards Di Tian. No! Di Tian's eyes were filled with disbelief, and a sense of helplessness surged in his heart. He did not expect Ling Xiao to be so strong. That kind of strength made him feel as if he was facing an unparalleled immortal emperor. His resistance was so laughable. Boom! Under Ling Xiao's indifferent gaze, the palm print landed directly on Di Tian's body. Instantly, Di Tian's body was like a spiderweb as dense cracks appeared all over his body. Then, Di Tian exploded. A black figure appeared. His face was twisted and filled with hatred as he glared at Ling Xiao. However, he was trapped in Ling Xiao's palm and could not break free at all. Ling Xiao, you and I are both at the 9th level of the Immortal Emperor realm. Why are you so much stronger than me? I can't accept this, I can't accept this. Di Tian roared angrily. This is your destiny. Wake up. Ling Xiao said indifferently. Then, he slammed his palm down, suppressing Di Tian in the 36 Heavens Supreme Stomps. Ling Xiao's gaze landed on the people behind Di Tian, and his eyes were filled with murderous intent. Those people had also been infected by darkness and had sunk into it. Kill! Ling Xiao roared, and the unparalleled palm print enveloped the entire Hall of Light, trapping everyone within. Boom! Those people's eyes were filled with panic. They wanted to escape, but they could not. Under Ling Xiao's unparalleled palm print, they all exploded into pieces. Their flesh and blood were all destroyed, revealing their hideous primordial spirits of darkness. Then, they were all destroyed by Ling Xiao. The entire Hall of Light was cleared. Brother Ling Xiao, you're too strong. Di Hongwan's eyes widened. Her eyes were filled with excitement and disbelief. Although she knew that Ling Xiao was strong, Di Tian was still at the 9th level of the Immortal Emperor realm. She did not expect Ling Xiao to be so strong. Even Di Tian had been suppressed by Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao had already shown that he was invincible. It would not be long before he could ascend to the Immortal Emperor realm and dominate the entire immortal domain. Thank you, Brother Ling Xiao. Di Guangming also bowed solemnly to Ling Xiao. He had the radiant chaotic body and was the crown prince of the radiant immortal court. Although he appeared humble, he was extremely proud. However, in front of Ling Xiao, the arrogance in his heart was shattered. Even he had to admit that he was inferior to Ling Xiao. You're welcome. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Since there's a dark creature like Di Tian hiding in the radiant immortal court, there must be other dark creatures. Therefore, you must purge them well. Do not let them infiltrate. I still have matters to attend to, so I'll take my leave first. Ling Xiao said seriously. The infiltration of the dark creatures was extremely terrifying. Even the Heavenly Law Business Alliance and the Radiant Immortal Court had been infiltrated. It was clear how bad the situation in the Eternal Immortal Domain was. Brother Ling Xiao, are you leaving now? Di Hongwan's eyes were filled with reluctance. I have other matters to attend to. The ancient darkness world has been moving more frequently recently. You must be prepared. I'm afraid that a war will break out soon. When that time comes, the entire eternal immortal domain will be engulfed in the flames of war. Ling Xiao said seriously. Thank you for the reminder, Brother Ling Xiao. Di Guangming said with a solemn expression. I'm leaving. Ling Xiao nodded at Di Guangming and Di Hongwan, then turned and left the Radiant Palace. Now that the matter in the Radiant Immortal Court was settled, he would return to the Eldritch world to search for his opportunity to ascend. How were Jin Sei, Shui Wei, and his adorable children? Ling Xiao's heart was filled with longing. After leaving the Radiant Immortal Court, he used the greater teleportation technique and moved toward the depths of the Chaos Sea. Chapter 35-13 Chaos Sea. The Chaos Sea was vast and boundless. Even an immortal king or a half-immortal emperor would not be able to see the end of it. Ling Xiao did not know if an immortal emperor could see the vastness of the Chaos Sea. The Chaos Sea was the final destination of all living universes. It was also the birthplace of all living beings and universes. Countless universes were born and destroyed here. Countless living beings evolved, intertwining to form a vast epic. Ling Xiao was already a 9th heaven half-immortal emperor expert. However, his immensely powerful spirit consciousness was still restricted in the Chaos Sea. In the Chaos Sea, waves surged and broke through the 9 heavens. The void shook and heaven and earth were destroyed. The terrifying power of laws seemed to be able to annihilate everything. When Ling Xiao had crossed the Chaos Sea with the body of the previous king, he had experienced countless dangers. It could be said that he had narrowly escaped death. But now, his strength had increased by more than 100 times. With his current level of cultivation, ordinary dangers could no longer do anything to him. However, Ling Xiao could still sense that there was a power hidden in the sea that made his scalp tingle. Even though he was a half-immortal Emperor 9th Heaven expert and could clearly sense the location of the Eldritch World, it still took him more than 100 years to reach the depths of the Chaos Sea. He found an ancient and mysterious world not far away. That world glowed with resplendent light and gave off an eternal aura. It was filled with a vast chaotic airflow that constantly expanded into the surroundings. That was the Eldritch World. It was also the Eternal World. Eldritch World, I, Ling Xiao, am back. Standing in the Chaos Sea and looking at the vast Eldritch World, Ling Xiao's eyes were filled with excitement and surprise. The Eldritch World had evolved into the Eternal World. From now on, it would no longer be threatened by the birth and death of other worlds. As long as the Chaos Sea was not destroyed, the Eldritch World would exist forever. And now, the Eldritch World was more than 100 times bigger than when Ling Xiao had left. This was because after the Eldritch World evolved into the Eternal World, it would constantly devour chaos energy and expand. Perhaps one day, the Eldritch World would become as vast as the Eternal Immortal Domains. Boom! Ling Xiao took a step forward and instantly appeared in the Eldritch World. The Eldritch World trembled violently, emitting a mysterious and vast divine sound of the Great Tao. It was like a great bell, causing the entire world to shake. All the creatures and cultivators in the untainted world trembled all over at this moment. Like ants looking up at a divine dragon, they raised their heads unconsciously. A few of the old monsters with terrifying strength who had reached the martial monarch realm were astounded. Their eyes were filled with astonishment. Then, what realm is this expert at? Could it be a sovereign? No. Even a Tao Lord wouldn't be able to exert such terrifying pressure. A single thought was enough to make us lose control of our lives. Who exactly is it that has come to the great desolate world? Many of the utmost powerful beings felt as though a calamity was about to befall them. Their eyes were filled with fear. However, that feeling only lasted for an instant before it disappeared. Ling Xiao withdrew his aura and instantly appeared hundreds of millions of miles away. He arrived at the center of the Eldritch World, in the vast and majestic heavenly court. In the majestic heavenly court, the eyes of Faith Ling Xiao flickered with golden light. He stepped out of the majestic palace and looked into the void. Ling Xiao, you're back. Faith Ling Xiao said indifferently. Faith, long time no see. Ling Xiao said with a smile. Faith Ling Xiao had become the true master of the heavenly court since he had merged with the Eldritch World's heavenly Tao. He controlled yin and yang and mediated creation. His strength was unfathomable. Ling Xiao realized that after years of Faith Ling Xiao's transformation, his cultivation had risen to the peak of the immortal king realm. He was only half a step away from breaking through to the quasi-immortal emperor realm. Faith Ling Xiao had merged with the Eldritch World. In the future, as long as the Eldritch World continued to grow and expand, Faith Ling Xiao would naturally become stronger too. Brother Ling Xiao, you're back. At this moment, an incomparably surprised voice sounded. In the distance, a gentle and indifferent Jin Se in a red dress entered Ling Xiao's eyes. Her eyes were filled with incomparable excitement, and the rims of her eyes were red. Who else could it be but Jin Se? Beside her was a woman in a white dress. Her beautiful big eyes were covered with a layer of mist, and the corners of her mouth revealed a trace of a smile. As she smiled, her eyes turned red. It was Xue Wei. Ling Xiao's heart couldn't help but tremble when he saw the two women. Jin Se, Xue Wei, Ling Xiao called out softly, and then quickly walked forward and hugged Jin Sei and Shui Wei. The feeling of reuniting after a long separation was so good. Soon, Ling Xiao's old friends appeared. Father! Father! An extraordinary young man and woman flew over from afar. Their eyes were filled with incomparable excitement. The man was wise, handsome, and extraordinary. His features were very similar to Ling Xiao's. He was Ling Xiao's son, Ling Huang. The woman was charming and charming. Like Jin Sei, she was beautiful and ethereal. Of course, this was Ling Changsheng. The reincarnation emperor, the flowing time emperor, the old goat, Taoist Wu Yang, Yi Liangchen, and Long Outyen were also present. These old friends had lived peaceful and comfortable lives for many years. Seeing an old friend like Ling Xiao return made them incomparably happy. Night fell. In the back garden of the heavenly court, all sorts of nectar and delicacies were laid out on the table. Everyone was very happy. They talked about the development of the Wilds over the years. Many geniuses had emerged, and of course, Ling Huang and Ling Changsheng were the most dazzling of them all. Ling Huang had the Khanate Great Tao body, and was a natural-born emperor. He and Ling Changsheng had the Khanate Chaos body, and were a pair of pearls. They had been cultivating diligently for many years, and had already reached the great emperor realm. As for the old goat, Taoist Wu Yang, Yi Liangchen, and Long Outyen, although they had been a little lazy in recent years, they had also broken through to the great emperor realm. They had been in the Wilds for many years, and were very tired of it. When they heard Ling Xiao talk about the wonders of the eternal immortal domains, they were all itching to go and see for themselves. The eternal immortal domains are vaster and more exciting than the Wilds, but also more dangerous. Not to mention, it won't be long before the creatures of darkness invade the eternal immortal domains. When that happens, even the Wilds won't be spared. I'm here to take you all to the eternal immortal domains. Ling Xiao took a sip of wine and smiled at the crowd. Chapter 35:14. The eternal immortal domains weren't any safer than the Wilds. However, the ancient darkness world was incredibly powerful, and had infiltrated the eternal immortal domains so deeply that not even the Chaos Sea was spared. If the Wilds were affected, Ling Xiao would be too far away to help. Therefore, Ling Xiao was preparing to bring all of his friends and family from the Wilds to the eternal immortal domains. Once the war began, he would be able to ensure their safety in the eternal immortal domains. The heavenly court. It was late at night. Everyone was feeling a little tipsy. Ling Xiao's return had made them very happy. However, the invasion of the ancient darkness world that Ling Xiao had mentioned worried them greatly. Needless to say, it was a catastrophe that would sweep across the eternal immortal domains, and perhaps even the Chaos Sea. Jin Sei and Shui Wei were overjoyed to be reunited with Ling Xiao after such a long time. After a night of intimacy, Ling Xiao's exhaustion seemed to have faded away. He felt refreshed, and even his cultivation base bottleneck seemed to have loosened. Of course, he was still a long way from becoming an immortal emperor. Master said that the opportunity to become an immortal emperor lies in the Wilds. It seems it's time for me to explore the Wilds. Ling Xiao thought to himself. Ling Changsheng had been clinging to Ling Xiao the entire time he had seen his father return. Even Ling Huang, who had always been calm and steady, was excited. Ling Xiao played with them for a few days, and gave them pointers on their cultivation bases. They weren't far from becoming Tao Lords. Now, Ling Xiao planned to explore the Wilds. Naturally, Jin Sei and Shui Wei accompanied him. The Wilds was a vast place, filled with all sorts of living beings. It was an epic tale. Ling Xiao, Jin Sei, and Shui Wei went on a scenic tour of the Wilds. They saw the customs of the various races, as well as the joys and sorrows of the world. This kind of calm and indifferent state of mind allowed Ling Xiao's cultivation to be much more stable even though he did not break through. Unfortunately, Ling Xiao still hadn't found the opportunity to become an immortal emperor. An immortal emperor is the ruler of the eternal heavenly Tao, reversing life and death, controlling time and space, manipulating fortune, and annihilating yin and yang. This kind of mighty power is not something that can be achieved overnight. Unless one has a heaven-defying fortune, it is not so easy to become an immortal emperor. As for the primeval world, although it is an eternal world, it is only a newly born eternal world. How could it have the fortune to become an immortal emperor? Ling Xiao thought to himself. My husband, although I don't know what the immortal emperor realm is, I understand that you can't rush to break through. When the opportunity comes, it will be your chance. Jin Se sensed Ling Xiao's worries and consoled him. I understand. Ling Xiao said with a smile. He was not in a hurry. Instead, he was searching for the location of the opportunity. However, he had traveled more than half of the primitive world but still could not find the opportunity to become an immortal emperor. Clang! At that instant, a voice that sounded like a huge bell echoed in the primordial world. An ethereal and mysterious voice sounded in Ling Xiao's mind. Creatures of darkness? He actually discovered the great desolate world so quickly. Ling Xiao's eyes flickered with a hint of coldness. He had just heard Ling Xiao's voice. In the Chaos Sea, there was a wave of darkness sweeping toward the primitive world. There seemed to be a half-immortal emperor realm expert among them. Jin Se, return to the heavenly court with Xue Wei first. Ling Xiao tore open the void and sent Jin Se and Xue Wei back to the heavenly court. He then took a step forward and appeared in the Chaos Sea. Rumble. In the distance, in the vast and turbulent Chaos Sea, a wave of darkness swept toward them. The worlds that were nurtured in the Chaos Sea were like bubbles that were being swept by the dark waves. They shattered one after another. The wave of darkness swept across and devoured everything. It became more and more terrifying. Moreover, Ling Xiao could sense an extremely terrifying figure emitting an extremely dense aura of the origin of darkness. It was a half-immortal emperor of darkness. Boom! Ling Xiao's eyes flickered with sharpness. Without any hesitation, he threw out a punch. A vast chaos fist print bloomed in the Chaos Sea in an instant. It was like an eternal immortal sun, shattering all the darkness and suppressing toward the wave of darkness. How dare you! A voice filled with shock and anger rang out. In the wave of darkness, a half-immortal emperor of darkness who was over 1,000,000 feet tall and was as black as ink stepped out. The black scythe in his hand suddenly slashed toward Ling Xiao. Crack! However, in the next moment, his expression changed drastically. He felt an unparalleled divine force suppressing him. The black scythe in his hand instantly exploded. The chaos fist print slammed into the wave of darkness. Instantly, countless screams were heard. No one knew how many creatures of darkness were blasted into powder by the punch. In the next moment, Ling Xiao reached out and grabbed the half-immortal Emperor of Darkness by the neck. He was lifted out of the Chaos Sea. No matter how hard he struggled, he still couldn't break free from Ling Xiao's control. Who are you? How can there be such a powerful figure like you in a mere new eternal world? The half-immortal Emperor of Darkness's eyes were filled with shock and anger. He instantly sensed Ling Xiao's cultivation base. Ninth Heaven Half-Immortal Emperor. He didn't expect that his 7th Heaven Half-Immortal Emperor cultivation base couldn't resist Ling Xiao's attack at all. Most of the army of darkness he brought with him was also killed by Ling Xiao's punch. Boom! Ling Xiao didn't pay attention to him at all. He held the half-immortal Emperor of Darkness with one hand and pressed with the other. In an instant, huge waves surged in the Chaos Sea. Endless power of laws gathered. The remaining army of darkness had nowhere to run. Almost instantly, they were completely annihilated by Ling Xiao's palm. Where did you come from? How did you know about the Eldritch world? Ling Xiao's eyes were incomparably cold and contained a cold killing intent. He stared at the half-immortal Emperor of Darkness condescendingly. The half-immortal Emperor of Darkness instantly trembled all over. He felt sweating profusely and his eyes were filled with incomparable fear. He felt that if he didn't speak, he would immediately die in Ling Xiao's hands. Sir, My name is Mo Sang. I belong to the 23rd Vanguard under the 9th Saint Emperor of the ancient darkness world. This time, the 9th Saint Emperor's son, the 9th Prince Wushuang, was cultivating in the Chaos Sea. He accidentally discovered a new eternal world, so he sent me here. Mo Sang didn't dare to hide anything and hurriedly told Ling Xiao everything he knew. Ling Xiao's brows furrowed tightly as he listened to his explanation. End of chapter. Chapter 35:15. According to Mo Sang, Ling Xiao could not help but worry. The ancient darkness world's 9th sacred emperor. According to Mo Sang, there were 9 sacred emperors in the ancient darkness world. Above them was the mysterious and powerful darkness sovereign. Even the 9 sacred emperors had to obey the darkness sovereign's orders. In that case, there were more than 10 immortal emperors in the ancient darkness world. In the eternal immortal domain, including the chaotic ancient immortal emperor, there might not be more than 3 immortal emperors. The disparity in strength was too great. Moreover, no one knew if there were any hidden immortal emperors in the ancient darkness world. Although Ling Xiao had overestimated the ancient darkness world's strength, his heart was still heavy after hearing Mo Sang's words. 9th Wushuang. Looking for the opportunity to become a sacred emperor? Ling Xiao's heart skipped a beat. According to Mo Sang, 9th Wushuang was the most dazzling genius in the ancient darkness world. He had come to the Chaos Sea to find the opportunity to become a sacred emperor. 9th Wushuang's cultivation had also reached the 9th heaven of the quasi-immortal emperor realm. Moreover, he had reached the 9th heaven of the quasi-immortal emperor realm millions of years ago. Ling Xiao could not help but ponder. Could it be that the opportunity to become an immortal emperor was going to fall on the hands of the 9th ranked Prince Wushuang? Sir, I have told you everything I know. If you want to find 9th Prince Wushuang, I can take you there. I believe you will be interested in the opportunity to become a sacred emperor. Mo Sang stole a glance at Ling Xiao. Is that so? Ling Xiao looked at him with a faint smile. Ling Xiao naturally knew Mo Sang's plan. Perhaps Mo Sang wanted Ling Xiao to find 9th Wushuang so that he could escape with 9th Wushuang's strength. However, Ling Xiao did not intend to expose Mo Sang's plan. He really wanted to meet 9th Prince Wushuang. He had a premonition that the opportunity to become a sacred emperor was going to fall on 9th Wushuang. Sir, I will not lie to you. Although 9th Prince Wushuang did not tell me, the Chaos Sea contains the supreme law of heaven. It is mysterious and unfathomable. Light and darkness intertwine. It is definitely a sacred emperor realm opportunity. Mo Sang was afraid that Ling Xiao would not believe him, so he swore. All right, lead the way. Ling Xiao said. Yes. Mo Sang was delighted. He immediately turned around obediently and headed towards the depths of the Chaos Sea. Ling Xiao followed closely behind him. He didn't play any tricks. After witnessing Ling Xiao's strength, he understood that there was no way he could escape, so he obediently led the way. Ling Xiao could feel that the Chaos Sea seemed to be getting more and more violent. Endless waves swept through the sky, and ancient worlds shattered one after another before being completely annihilated in the Chaos Sea. The power of laws rose, and the great Tao interweaved. All kinds of chaotic power gathered here and returned to the chaos. It was as if an extremely terrifying power was about to awaken in the Chaos Sea, affecting the peace of the entire Chaos Sea. He followed Mo Sang all the way to the depths of Chaos Sea. A vast abyss of chaos suddenly appeared in front of them. It was as black as ink, like a black hole that could devour everything. It was as if there was only nothingness there. Even the primal chaos did not exist. However, at this moment, a dazzling light blossomed from within, and a mysterious figure vaguely appeared. Many dark creatures were stationed around the abyss of chaos, and a few of them had extremely terrifying auras. They had reached the 9th heaven of the half-celestial emperor realm. Ling Xiao became more worried when he saw how powerful the subordinates of the 9th Saint Emperor's son were. Sir, it's there. His Highness Jiu Wushuang is in that abyss. Mo Sang glanced at Ling Xiao carefully and said slowly. Very good. You've led me here to borrow the power of the dark creature's army, or rather, Jiu Wu Shuang's power to kill me, right? Ling Xiao smiled faintly. Mo Sang's expression instantly became unnatural. He laughed dryly and said, "How is that possible?" "Sir, I just don't want to die." Swoosh. 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 However, as soon as he finished speaking, a few terrifying auras rose from the chaos sea in all directions. They were 4 terrifying figures that were 1,000,000 feet tall, and their bodies seemed to be made of black divine gold. Their auras were extremely powerful, as if they could annihilate everything. Their eyes were cold and merciless. They were filled with eerie and dark murderous intent, causing the surrounding space to tremble and distort. They were 4 ninth heaven of the half-celestial emperor realm experts. "Sirs, he's trying to harm His Highness. Please kill him as soon as possible." Mo Sang was overjoyed. He yelled wildly as he fled into the distance. Ling Xiao did not even look at Mo Sang. His eyes were fixed on the 4 half-celestial emperors in front of him with a cold murderous intent. The 4 half-celestial emperors were very powerful. However, they were nothing to Ling Xiao. Die! The 4 half-celestial emperors sensed Ling Xiao's life force. Their eyes were filled with murderous intent. They suddenly yelled and charged at Ling Xiao at the same time. "Kill!" Ling Xiao roared as well. Blazing celestial light rose from his palm. A sword light that could shatter the heavens and reverse time was extremely dazzling and resplendent as it swept across the void. At the same time, his figure skyrocketed and turned into 1,000,000 feet tall. His body was covered in a brilliant golden glow. He threw a fierce chaotic fist seal at the 4 half-celestial emperors. Rumble. Boundless divine light surged in the chaos ocean. The sharp sword ray instantly penetrated the forehead of one of the half-celestial emperors. Ling Xiao's fist seal also landed on the chest of the other half-celestial emperor. An unparalleled divine force burst out and shattered his heart into pieces. The 2 half-celestial emperors were sent flying at the same time. They were severely injured in an instant. "Damn it! Stop him, we can't let him disturb His Highness." The remaining 2 half-celestial emperors were shocked and furious. Their eyes were filled with cold murderous intent as they charged at Ling Xiao. Ling Xiao's strength had exceeded their expectations. However, for the sake of His Highness, they charged forward fearlessly. Rumble. Blazing immortal light bloomed around Ling Xiao. Eternal light shrouded him, making him look like an immortal celestial emperor who could suppress the heavens and shatter the boundless chaos. Even a casual strike from him contained unparalleled power that could send a powerful dark quasi-immortal emperor flying. As he stomped his foot, the chaos ocean surged violently. Huge waves surged into the sky and swept across the sky, annihilating the countless dark creatures around him. Ling Xiao's strength was beyond everyone's imagination. Even Mo Sang, who had just escaped, turned pale in an instant. How could he be so strong? His mind was filled with questions. However, in the next moment, a brilliant sword ray swept across the sky and sliced him in half. Even his true spirit was completely annihilated. Rumble. This battle came quickly and ended quickly as well. Although the 4 dark quasi-immortal emperors were not afraid of death, their strength was boundless, and they did not hesitate to detonate their dark saint weapons in an attempt to take Ling Xiao down with them. However, Ling Xiao's strength was far beyond their comprehension. In the end, they all died in Ling Xiao's hands.